Okay, we are back again. Hello, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. I'm going to try and sort out my background today again. Because we need to do it in a partial way to satisfy TikTok. But yeah, everyone else, welcome in. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, hello. We're going to be doing some more debates today, owning some more people. So yeah, let's get people in the queue, get some debates going. I think that, really you have to be against all types of suffering, right? To be a good person, you have to say, all suffering is bad, all suffering is unacceptable, right? You can't just pick and choose with your morality. You can't say, well, I think animal exploitation is bad, but, animals being eaten alive, that's okay, we should allow that. You're done, you're finished, you're out of here, if you believe that, right? You should be against all types of suffering. So the only way to be a good person is to say, nobody deserves to suffer. Everyone should be safe from suffering. We should do the right thing, the ethical thing. We should provide safety from suffering instead of just allowing suffering, right? That's what people are doing right now. They're just ignoring all of the suffering, allowing 100% of the suffering, essentially, just completely blind to it. So, Clint, hi, how you doing?
Hi, hello, James. How are you?
Yeah, good. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I have a question that I would like to hear your opinion about.
Okay.
I argued with someone that came to your panel once, and I actually don't know how to explain it to myself, and I would like to know what do you think. So basically,
Yeah.
let's give you an hypothetical. There are two people. One experience the most extreme suffering possible, and one experiencing the greatest pleasures possible.
Yeah.
And you can only choose one thing to stop the suffering and to stop the pleasures, or to allow the suffering and allow the pleasures. And I believe that we should stop the suffering and stop the pleasures. And the person that I argued with think that we should allow both to continue. So I don't really know how to explain it to him why it's wrong to pick the second option and not the first one. Can you try to maybe give your opinion about this hypothetical?
Yeah, I would say it's not fair to make somebody suffer just so that you can have fun. I mean, that's essentially the basis of morality itself, right? So, people like to think that there's no such thing as morality. You can do whatever you want. But yeah, causing harm to somebody so that you can benefit, that is essentially immorality, right? Allowing or causing harm so that you can benefit is the only way to be immoral, right? That there is no other way to be a bad person, right? You either cause or allow suffering for your own benefit. So it's directly immoral, right? There's nothing else that could be immoral, right? So, if we're going to have right and wrong, then yeah, causing suffering for your benefit is obviously wrong. And nobody needs to have fun, right? Nobody needs to have pleasure. And it doesn't make up for the cruelty and the suffering. It doesn't balance out somehow. There's no amount of pleasure that justifies or makes up for suffering, because pleasure is unnecessary. You don't need it. It's something that you can give up. So think of it this way, right? Would you want somebody to be tortured for their entire life if that was the only way for you to live, right? So if the only way for you to have a happy life is for somebody to basically go to hell or be tortured for their whole life, I would say no, right? I'm not going to be able to enjoy my life knowing that, continuing it is causing somebody to be tortured horrifically, right? So only a selfish person would be able to just ignore that suffering, allow it, look away from it. And so the thing is, people people are constantly trying to come up with these examples and these questions, these hypotheticals where they say, what if, it's just one person suffering and then, billions of happy people, but these are all unrealistic scenarios. So that's the problem. And the reason why they're using unrealistic scenarios is because that's the only way that they can make it sound confusing, basically. So they'll use an unrealistic scenario like, would you really sacrifice everybody for just one person? But that's not a realistic thing, right? That's a dream fantasy scenario for them where it's as confusing as possible, right? It's the most difficult version of extinction, right? They're basically essentially just trying to imagine the most difficult version of extinction, even though it will never happen, right? There's never realistically going to be a situation where only one person is suffering and billions of people are being happy, right? So they're coming up with fake situations that make it more difficult to argue against. But realistically, there's never going to be a situation like that. So even with your hypothetical, again, yeah, it makes it confusing to think about, or it can do, right? But it's never going to actually be that way in reality. The reality is never going to be one person and making a difficult decision. It's going to be infinite suffering, right? You can never limit it to one person. So you have to have a zero tolerance policy on all extreme suffering, because the alternative is to just allow infinite suffering. And you can't limit it, you can't control it or say, we'll only allow this much suffering. It just doesn't work like that, right? If you don't care about suffering existing, then you can't limit it, right? You either care about it and have total extinction, or you just don't care about it and do nothing, essentially, right? There's no way to care about suffering properly and to not do proper extinction, a total extinction. So you can't say, well, no, I care about suffering, but I wouldn't do extinction, because realistically, that's just a lie. Like, you don't actually care about suffering, and you're not doing any activism to help, these people are. So, but let's try and answer your scenario again. Should someone go to hell so somebody can, go to heaven? Should somebody suffer their whole life so somebody can have a happy life? No, basically, right? So only a selfish person would do that. Only a cruel person would do that, a selfish person. So, I mean, the thing is, right, I think one really good way to think about extinction is, again, would you have somebody be tortured for their entire life just so that you can have a life, right? Would you really be willing to do that, right? So you can sit there, watching Netflix and not really doing much. Meanwhile, somebody's being tortured, screaming in pain, begging for death every single day, right? You're just being absolutely ravished. And while you're just like, yeah, whatever. That's not a good thing. That's the most selfish thing possible, basically. So, obviously a good person would say, no, I will, not live if it depends on somebody being tortured horrifically, right? But from that, perspective, it's simple, right? You just go expand it, right? So I wouldn't want a child to be, abused to death or abused for their entire life, horrifically tortured, so that I can just watch Netflix and have an okay life. And in the same way that I wouldn't, torture a child so that I can have a life, I wouldn't let that child be tortured so that anybody else could have a life. So, it really is only selfish people that want the suffering to continue for their own pleasure. And there's no logic where it's like, well, yeah, I wouldn't, have a child tortured for me, but if somebody else wants to do it, then that's okay. No children should be being tortured. Nobody should be tortured. No animal, just so that others can have a happy life. And if we can easily agree that, yes, I wouldn't let a child be tortured so that I can have fun, then we shouldn't say, but I would let the child be tortured so that others can have fun. Like, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't let the child be tortured for me, but I will allow them to be tortured for others, right? That just doesn't make sense. It's like saying, well, yeah, I'm not selfish, so I wouldn't let a child be tortured for me or anyone be tortured for me. But, if someone else wants to do that, then, who cares about the child, right? We shouldn't protect the child. We should leave their torture to just anyone who wants to, right? it just doesn't make sense, right? So people are literally saying we should support life continuing at the direct expense of others, right? If the dynamic is essentially somebody being tortured so that you can live, and people are supporting this dynamic, right? The dynamic of, yeah, you get to have an okay life, and maybe you'll get tortured as well. But that's worth it. A child being tortured to death, yeah, it's worth it. No, it's really not worth it, and it doesn't become worth it just because two people are getting to live for that child being tortured, or three people, four people, right? It's never worth it. Okay, it never becomes worth it. So, does that make sense?
Yeah, for me, everything that you make and all the arguments make sense like instantly. 100% I agree with everything you say. But when I try to explain it to others, they mostly say something like, I think that the suffering is not worth the pleasure, but they do think the pleasures do worth the suffering. And it seems like they say it all comes down to just a personal opinion. And like, if you are weak, so you probably don't think the pleasure worth the suffering. And if you are strong, so the suffering, like they have like, it seems
Yeah,
that
the,
we
the,
have
the
two
idea
different.
that the safety of children should come down to personal opinion, and if somebody doesn't want them to be safe, then they can allow them to be tortured. That's just insane, right? People are constantly coming out with this nonsense about, oh, safety. If somebody doesn't want to provide safety to children, just let them. That's their decision. Let children be tortured. Let animals be tortured. Yeah, why not? The idea that we should let people make these decisions for themselves is insane, right? Safety should not be optional. Safety shouldn't be something people can just choose or discard whenever they feel like it, right? When it's the safety of others that we're talking about, right? So people say, well, let people have children if they want, let them have pets, let them do whatever they want, essentially. But, that freedom is essentially freedom to cause extreme suffering, to guarantee it, right? Freedom is not a good thing. Choice, agency, autonomy, consent, these are all bad things, right? The only thing they do is benefit selfish people and cause extreme suffering, like nothing else, right?
Yeah. All right, James, I thank you for answering the questions. So I'm gonna let you.
Thank you, Clint. But yeah, we should be against slavery, right? But what's worse than slavery is extreme suffering, a life of pure hell. There are things much worse than slavery, and yet people are happy to allow all of the suffering in the world, right? They allow all of the terrible things, right? So in that sense, most people effectively support everything bad that happens, right? People are literally in support of child abuse, animal cruelty, right? Most people, support animal agriculture, right? Now, I do for different reasons, but most people don't care about the suffering, right? I might eat meat, but only because it actually reduces suffering. I still care about the animals that are being farmed for meat, and I care about the wild animals as well. But most people just don't care about any of it, right? For most people to not even care about animal agriculture and the exploitation, right? Most people would never even consider going vegan. They would never even think about it, right? Now, obviously, I am saying that veganism causes more suffering, but most people don't know that, and they're not even willing to consider whether or not they should go vegan. So I think on that basis alone, it really does prove that humans are essentially evil, right? If humans won't even consider supporting the end of extreme animal cruelty, then what could you possibly call that other than just pure evil, right? 99% of humans don't even give the slightest care about animal exploitation, right? Now, obviously, we should care about wild animal suffering, human suffering as well, but on an emotional level, right? On a small-minded level, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that animal exploitation is wrong, right? That it's cruel, that it causes misery and suffering, that it is a form of oppression, exploitation, cruelty. So most people don't even give the slightest damn about that. They just don't even care remotely, right? They literally say, yeah, animal exploitation, that's good. Yeah, kill the animals. Yeah, torture them. That's a good thing. So, most humans have no moral high ground, no leg to stand on, no defense, no basis of morality, no ethics, no morality. They are essentially just pure evil, right? Most humans, 99% or more, are pure evil, right? I don't care if you're a doctor, a nun, a policeman, a firefighter. You're pure evil, basically, right? You support child abuse, animal abuse, torture, depression, exploitation, forcing people to suffer, right? So don't support all of the terrible things in the world just because you can't be bothered to do anything about it, right? Okay, let's see who we've got in the queue. Let's bring some people up. Let's get some debates going and get it started. Let's see who we've got. Hello, how you doing?
You just added 2.
Yeah, do you have any questions?
I just think you're not necessarily going to be able to get everyone on board.
Yeah, I mean, nothing in the world has ever involved getting everyone on board. So we're not expecting to do that either. We're not relying on that. But you never know. Maybe we could get everyone on board in the future.
But you won't though, so why don't you just end your life? It's that simple.
Okay,
If you're really, if you're
let me just ban you and block you permanently. See you later. Okay,
Bro.
goodbye, crazy person.
I got a few questions.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so what's going to be the normative framework you're using?
Oh, we don't use philosophy. Philosophy rots your brain, basically.
Oh, okay, my bad. So I just got another question. So your conclusion is something like extinction is, we ought towards extinction, right? We should.
Now, I didn't kick him there. The connection timed out, apparently. TikTok was glitching a bit, to be honest. So, yeah, he's asking, like, why should we care about extinction? And the answer is, it's the right thing to do, right? To be against suffering and cruelty. He's essentially asking, why should we ban cruelty? Why should we ban child abuse? Why should we ban animal torture and abuse, right? So, again, as I was saying earlier, right, these same people don't even care about animal exploitation, right? They don't care about animal agriculture and the fact that animals are being tortured for no reason. So they don't even care about that. So how can they have any sort of backbone to say, I have an opinion worth listening to on the ethics of the world and the morality of the world? I don't care that animals are being tortured, that humans are being tortured, but I think you should listen to my opinion, right? Why should we care about your opinion if you literally don't even care about animals being tortured, humans being tortured, right? You don't care about any of the suffering in the world, essentially. So why should we care about your opinion? You're essentially saying, all of the victims in this world who need help, I don't give a fuck about them, but you should listen to my opinion. Like, no. Aya, hello, how you doing?
I'm doing good, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Well, I wanted to ask you, what do you think of reducing suffering until we can eliminate all suffering? What do you think
Yeah,
about
absolutely.
that?
Yeah, we should do it, but not at the expense or cost of ending all suffering. So yeah, we should reduce suffering. And essentially, if we, the pro-extinction government, if we take over the world, we would be working to reduce suffering as well. We should be improving conditions for humanity, right? Improving healthcare, improving everything, essentially. So working towards a utopia, working towards a paradise. But the only thing is, right, that's not going to be the priority. So we're not going to be, focusing on pleasure for humans. We're going to be focusing on safety for those who really need it. But yeah, there will be a little bit of resources left over to improve the world for humans as well. And I think, as technology advances anyway, it's going to happen anyway. It's just going to naturally happen. Things will get better in that sense. But yeah, we support it just as long as it's not like the priority. The priority is those who really need help.
Priority, but I think, for example, I was anti-AI until I got into this movement and realized it could be a huge help in the future for extinction. But at the same time, I can't stop thinking of the workers that were abused for this project of AI and the water that's being wasted, the severe job displacement we will face, and it might even get in the way of extinction at this point.
Yeah, no, trying to stop AI is like trying to stop, water from flowing through a river or something, right? It's just not, it's not going to happen, okay? This is the direction of how technology advances. You can't just stop it, and nobody's going to be able to stop it anyway. So it is effectively a waste of time to think about trying to stop it, right? That's not something you can actually do. But yeah, it's going to advance anyway. And essentially people are afraid of technology advancing, but essentially it's going to happen anyway, right? There's nothing we can do to stop it, really.
So you don't think humans boycotting it is any help?
No.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you, Aya. But yes, it does make sense to, be concerned about the future of AI, right? Is it going to take over the world and blow it up or something without doing a thorough and vast extinction, right? Is it going to do a bad extinction? That would essentially be the main question. Or is it going to run a dystopia? Who knows, right? Is it going to do something bad? But essentially, I don't think so, right? I think that the more powerful the AI gets, the smarter it will get, the more responsible it will get, and the more safeguards the companies will be putting into it, right? Which is already true. On the other hand, right, access to AI will inevitably lead to bad things happening, right? People will be able to make weapons using the information from the AI and other stuff like that. So that there's good and bad, which is another reason why you need extinction, right? Even as technology gets better and better, that just presents more danger for life, essentially. But yeah, we should most likely try and control AI as it advances. So instead of allowing it to do bad things, we should try and control the AI, or push it in the right direction so that it does good things. Okay? So yeah, it's understandable to be afraid of AI, but we should try and overcome that fear and try and control it, right? Solve the problem of it being dangerous and make it so that it can actually be helpful and safe, right? So it is essentially the future, really, right? The future is going to be AI runs the world, humans no longer have to work. But in terms of the utopia, it's unclear at the minute how long humanity will get to enjoy that utopia, right? Because the thing is that we need to provide safety for humanity as fast as possible, in the same way that we need to do it for any life form, right? So there's always that consideration that, well, humanity is in danger, it would be better off not existing. So we might build a utopia for humanity, but there's no guarantee that they'll get to enjoy it for very long. But that doesn't matter, right? That's not important. So if humanity goes extinct after 30 years of utopia, then so be it, right? They got to have a relatively nice time. Some of them will be suffering terribly, but yeah, then they get made safe. It's the right thing to do. So don't let utopia distract you away from the suffering. Don't let it corrupt you, basically, right? You have to remember that safety is more important. It's the priority, and you can only achieve that safety with non-existence, right? There is no other way to do it. It's physically impossible, and it's urgent, right? So even as we keep humanity existing to help with the extinction project, we understand that humanity would be better off not existing at all times. So we're keeping them in danger, keeping humanity suffering terribly, because we need them, right? We need their brains to help with the most vast and thorough extinction possible. So, but as soon as humanity is no longer needed, it's gonna go, right? We will make it safe as soon as we can, right? That is something we want to do, right? We're not just like, humanity, who cares, right? We should care about all life, including humanity. But, okay, let's see who we got in the queue. Let's get back to some debates. We've got Hamilton in the queue. We've got Gary. Let's see. All right, I'm going to bring up like 3 or 4 people, because probably only one will join. So,
Hey,
hello, how you doing? Gary, hello.
hi.
Yeah, do you have any questions?
I mean, like, what's your whole, like, I don't really understand your motives and what you want to do. I just don't think it's right.
So it's about making sure that nobody is, suffering terribly. Nobody is facing cruelty and abuse. Making sure that everybody is safe from the ultimate harm, basically.
Yeah, but I think, like, a lot of people in the world will just never want to die instead of suffering. They just prefer to live.
Yeah, but still, a suffering-free world is more important than what they want.
So, if half the world wanted a suffering free world with total extinction and half of them wanted to live on, what would you do?
Well, it's not that they just half of the world wants to live. It's right. Half of the world wants to keep torturing animals, torturing children, trapping people into lives of pure hell. So yeah, we would absolutely do total extinction, even if they don't want to. Right? We have to use force to defend the victims of suffering. Otherwise, you just leave them to the wolves, basically. Right?
I kind of understand. I'm not really agreeing with it.
Who should we trust with the safety of children? Psychopaths that don't care about suffering, or people that are going to make those children safe?
I suppose people who make the children safe.
That's it. There you go. So we
Yeah.
shouldn't care about what irresponsible people think, right? People are always trying to say, what if a psychopath wants to, torture a child? Shouldn't we just let them do it? It's their choice, right? No. It's just the torture of a child shouldn't be somebody's personal choice. Billy, hello, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I just want to talk about two things.
Go for it.
The first thing is because I've been following you for a while, and I've seen a lot of comments saying that, oh, this is just one whole big joke, and this has to be satire or whatnot. Do you have anything to say to everybody that thinks you're joking?
Well, yeah, they just can't argue against the actual reasoning, basically. So, I would love to hear them actually debate the logic, the reasoning, the ethics, instead of just insulting it instead. So that's essentially the reason why they're insulting it, is because they know they can't argue against it.
Yeah, right. And the second thing, you said before that philosophy rots your brain and that it's not really good.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, like, how?
Yeah, so you see a lot of philosophy people come into the stream, and essentially they can't speak sense, right? It's just pure gibberish, pure nonsense. They've abstracted all of their reasoning away, right? So they now rely on abstract, impossible to prove concepts and standards that are impossible, rules that are impossible, standards of evidence and proof that are impossible, essentially, to where they're essentially saying, well, it results in analysis paralysis, basically. So they're essentially saying that there's no way to ever be sure of anything ever. Everything is subjective and nothing is true unless you want it to be true. But again, this only supports selfish positions, right? The only reason to advocate against being a good person is if you want to be a bad person, you want to be selfish, right? So there's literally no reason to advocate for all of the things they do unless you want to be selfish, unless you want to find loopholes in morality. You want to find ways to confuse people so that you can escape moral obligation, right? It's like saying we should ban child abuse, and they'll say, well, you can't prove that. And it's like, well, surely only somebody that supports child abuse would say that, right? And even if they don't support it, it proves that their brain has rotted, essentially. Philosophy has rotted their brain to where they can't actually understand simple things. So it kind of abstracts their brain into dysfunction, essentially, and into just abstract things that just don't work in the real world, don't make sense. And yet it essentially turns them crazy.
Yeah, I get that. I also like that word you used, analysis paralysis. Yeah. Also, you should debate Neo Kun.
Is he he's not in the queue? Oh yeah, he is in the queue. Okay, yeah, let's get him up. All right, bringing up Neo Koom. Hello, how you doing?
Oh, hello there. Yeah, so I have one question on total extinction.
Yeah.
So my question to you would be, what do you think the fundamental purpose of life is?
Well, no one gave us any purpose, right? So only like crazy people think that there's some sort of spiritual divine purpose, right? There's nothing like that.
No, yeah, of course. I mean, like on a fundamental, like mechanistic level, like what is life doing? Even if we assume that life is just like a thing of the universe, what is that thing doing? The thing we're currently experiencing now.
Yeah, so reproducing essentially. That's the main thing.
No, that's how life perpetuates. That's not the fundamental purpose, though.
But well, again, there is no purpose, right? So you can't say what's the purpose when there is no purpose.
But no, well, surely if we acknowledge that consciousness is of the universe in the same way that, like, gases in space would be of the universe, then it does probably have a fundamental purpose. It's fundamentally doing a thing.
So you
So
think that all of the child abuse and animal abuse is like intentional?
intentional, it's probably all encompassing. Wherever you go, there will be
So
something.
you think
Absolutely.
it's intentional? You think that the universe is conscious and has decided to torture children?
That's a very good point. It's a very good contention. And the reality is,
But
well,
why
obviously,
do you think that the
obviously,
universe has a brain? And
well,
why do you think it has a purpose?
obviously, we can assume that suffering is meant to be a fundamental part of like the conscious experience for whatever reason. I don't really know why. But I suppose my question would be,
It seems like the way you're viewing the world is that it's been designed, that there's a reason behind everything. But that's the
no,
opposite of how it works. It's more like there's no reason behind it, so how does it actually work? That's the correct way to think, not like, oh, what's the reason for this?
no, I think even like external, like a belief in a god or purpose, like life is still fundamentally doing something. Like if we let's say
Again,
we
this
are
is
okay,
philosophy of rotting
can
your
I
brain.
this is
No,
like my
no,
this is the
no,
core.
no, no. The answer is no. Okay, philosophy has rotted your brain to where you think life has some purpose, right? Let's obsess over the purpose. No, you're just making it up, right? This is just insanity dribbling out of your brain, essentially, right? Philosophy is bad for you. Like I'm not joking. It is actually terrible for you, right? It makes you just talk about insane things that nobody can understand, that has nothing to do with anything. Hello, how you doing?
Good. You?
Good, thank
Let me
you.
ask you something, right? Your movement, I followed you because I thought this was the whole joke. But extinction ends all suffering necessarily, right? I'm getting now, this is not a joke, is it? This is not a joke, is it? Is it?
No,
Like I'm
it's not a
asking.
joke.
So, can I ask you again? Because based on what you said to these other people, didn't make sense. You're saying necessarily that philosophy doesn't make sense or it's surrounding people's brain. Is that true? Why do you think that again? Like, just explain
Yeah,
that to me.
philosophy rots your brain, essentially. It takes you away from the real world and into a world of abstract logic rules that don't actually make sense, that you just end up tripping yourself over. Yeah, I mean, philosophy just makes you go crazy. It's about trying to make sense of things that don't make sense, right? So it's about just focusing on abstract things that don't make sense, trying to make sense of it, while ignoring the real world, ignoring the way the world actually works, and then trying to apply these abstract rules to real life, which doesn't work at all. So this is really bad for your brain, essentially. And that's what philosophy is doing. And you can see it every time I debate people. They say, well, you can't prove that child abuse is bad, right? So philosophy has done that, right? Philosophy has said, you can't prove anything. Morality is subjective. If you want to, abuse children, then nobody can tell you that there's proof that that's wrong or anything, right? So it's essentially just allowing people to come up with more reasons to excuse and defend cruelty and being selfish, and essentially through confusing people. So it's just a terrible thing all around.
So, what based on you're saying philosophy is a race. So technically, you know that philosophy you're using is absurdism, right? You realize that, right? It's absurdism.
No, no,
Right?
no. Again, you're putting words in my mouth. That's
No,
what
no,
some
I'm
people
not.
do,
I'm
right?
just
I
saying.
don't even know what absurdism is. I don't care about
Because
it.
you believe the
I'm not.
human race should all die and get rid of. So why do you believe that they should die? No one has the right to die no matter what they do. And the purpose that
No
you're
one has the
assuming
right
that
to die. That's interesting.
no one, because you're assuming
No one has the
necessarily
right
that
to die.
no one,
That's
because it's
so.
not
So
up to
you're
you.
against like suicide, for example.
Yes, I'm against anything that involves somebody dying, no matter who or what they are.
But then surely
No one
extinction is the solution, right?
No,
It
it's not.
prevents it makes dying impossible and prevents billions of years of more dying. So if you want
Okay,
to
so
minimize dying, then extinction
humanity
is
was
the only way to do it.
humanity was created for a reason. You know,
So
right?
so you're another again. So whether it's philosophy or religion, it turns you crazy, right? He said, "Oh, we're here for a reason." So, it's like we should make child abuse impossible. We should make extreme cruelty impossible. And they say, no, we're here for a reason, right? The child abuse is for, I think it's for a reason, right? I think every time a grubby, disgusting, psychopathic pedophile gets his hands on a child, starts licking their body and all fucking horrible things, I think it's for a reason. Fuck these people, basically, right? Fuck supporting child abuse, fuck supporting the suffering in this world and saying there's a fucking reason for it, okay? Fuck off with that. You're literally supporting child abuse and animal abuse, literally, right? I'm not exaggerating when I'm saying that, right? Saying that there's a reason why children are being tortured is supporting them being tortured more, right? It's like telling the pedophiles, well, just follow your urges. Maybe that's there for a reason. Who knows, right? Until you follow through on your acts, you'll never know. It's fucked up, right? Stop defending abuse, suffering, cruelty, and all of the harm that life is causing. Stop saying there's some fucking reason for child abuse. No, we should make child abuse impossible. So fuck off with your philosophy that is enabling child abuse, animal abuse, and torturing innocent life forms, right? Fuck off with that philosophy bullshit, right? All your philosophy is doing is enabling and supporting and promoting child abuse and animal abuse and cruelty and misery. Stop saying it's subjective whether or not we should allow people to torture children, right? Fuck off with that subjective bullshit. Right? Children being safe from torture is not some subjective thing where it's like, oh, well, that guy over there thinks that, he should be allowed to abuse children. So, and I can't prove he's wrong. So we should just allow him, right? No children should be getting abused. Don't say there's some reason for it, right? What the fuck? So these people they're literally supporting the most disgusting, just picture a child abuser, right? Some disgusting fat bastard, right? Who's, oh, look at those children, right? I'm going to grab one and take it to my dungeon and just fucking destroy it, basically. And these people are literally supporting this. They're saying that's their choice to do it, right? We should allow that freedom. We should support that freedom. No, freedom, choice, agency, autonomy, these are terrible things, right? If you allow someone into the world and say, do whatever you want, you are free to do whatever you want, guess what? They're going to abuse children and animals. So freedom is not a good thing, okay? It's the worst thing possible, right? How many child abusers have used their freedom to torture innocent little kids, essentially, right? So it's not a good thing. Life shouldn't exist. And if you support life existing, then you are supporting child abuse, okay? Like, you're straight up supporting it. You're saying, yeah, we shouldn't make child abuse impossible. It's acceptable. So that's the sad reality, is that all of the suffering in the world is completely acceptable to most people, right? They think, yeah, it's acceptable. So for extinctionists, people that say we should end all suffering, it's not acceptable. No amount of cruelty or child abuse is acceptable. We will never say, well, just reduce it from 5 out of 10 kids to 3 out of 10, and then it's okay. No, we will never be satisfied with that. There must be zero suffering, zero abuse, zero cruelty, zero lives of pure hell, right? And don't say, well, there's meaning, there's some sort of purpose to it. That's not okay. So, think about it again, right? Is your life worth a child being tortured or an animal being tortured horrifically? No, okay, it's not. You're not doing anything that amazing that needs a child to be, abused sexually so that you can watch Netflix, okay? And there's nothing that you could do that could possibly justify that ever happening, right? So if your life isn't worth a child being abused sexually and then murdered, right? Then why is anybody else's life suddenly worth that, right? So look, it's obvious. If we had the chance to push a button and delete the universe, should you do it, right? Yes, it prevents children from being born into the hands of child abusers and tortured horrifically. It prevents animals from suffering terribly. It prevents people being forced to go through it each day with extreme depression. So if you push the button and delete the universe, you are saving all of the victims of suffering, and you are preventing just lives of pure hell where they would have been infinitely better off not being born. Essentially, you're closing down hell and all of the torture in hell, and the only victims of closing down hell are the demons that are running the show and enjoying it and saying the suffering must continue, right? I mean, nature documentaries, for example, right? You're watching animals suffer terribly and, kill each other. So you are effectively demons in hell, watching all of the suffering in hell and going, oh, it's beautiful. The cruelty is beautiful, right? So no suffering is acceptable. And yet everyone thinks that all of the suffering is good, right? Think about it this way. If you asked most humans on the planet right now, should we increase the forestation? Should we double the number of wild animals on the planet, double the number of forests? They'd all be like, yeah, do it. Hell yeah, do it, do it, do it. Even though that would essentially cause just countless numbers of animals to be tortured for no reason. So that's what people care about. They care about more wild animal suffering, less safety, less fairness. There's just no moral defense of this. There's no way to defend the position that life should exist, that we should have more of it, that we shouldn't care how badly it suffers or what conditions it's in. Hello, how are you doing?
Hey James, how are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
So look, I want to try to have an honest conversation with you, and
Okay.
I'm afraid that you might just drop me because you disagree with me.
So you're a philosopher. You're a philosopher, aren't you?
I'm not. I'm actually not.
Okay.
But I do think that philosophy can be useful, just not the useless jargon that we see on TikTok.
Okay.
But I do think you are doing a little bit of philosophy, whether you realize it or not.
Well, I mean, it's activism, really. So you can call it philosophy, but that's just because you think that philosophy is kind of the be all end all, right? It's the limit of intelligence, but actually it's
you're
not.
making a presupposition on me, and it's if you're going to
Yeah,
strawman me, that's
I'm
fine.
just trying to point out that I think that you don't have to call everything philosophy, right?
You don't, but I do think it
And
can
that
be a
actually
useful-
downplays and trivializes it, right? If you call an activist you're just doing a thought experiment, then it ignores the fact that you're actually trying to help other people. So philosophy is traditionally just a selfish thing for fun, right? It's about how to live your life. It's not about caring about others. That's our problem. with it.
I would disagree there. Like I think there's different aspects of philosophy that can be useful, and there's a lot of useless jargon out there also. So I think trying to put things into a box, whether it's going to be black or white, maybe it's not going to be an honest position. So I think like the idea of like removing this suffering, I get that, but I think there's a part of this that you said something along the lines of, I'm trying to remember how you worded it, but you said something along the lines of removing suffering saves everybody from pain and abuse and all of these things.
Yeah.
Saving isn't that's not saving. That's just cutting off. Saving is going to be more along the lines of promoting flourishing.
So you don't think
well-being.
preventing torture can count as saving?
That does not promote flourishment.
So somebody that's going to be tortured horrifically, begging for death, preventing that for them, providing safety from it, that doesn't save them. So it's literally preventing them from being tortured. That doesn't count as saving them.
You're ignoring what I just said. I said
I
that
am.
does
I am. But you attacked my argument, so now I'm actually replying to it, not ignoring it. Really, think about it.
Yeah. So where is the flourishment, and where is the promotion of?
So why do we need flourishment?
Also, we don't need anything. This is just nihilism, then.
Okay, so you're just making claims with no basis, then.
What are you talking about?
Well, you're just saying things for no reason. If you're saying that there needs to be flourishment to save
No,
someone.
okay. Just
You've been owned already. Philosophy has done this to you. Okay, stop reading philosophy books.
I'm not
It is
reading
literally bad
philosophy.
for you.
Look, you're literally strawmanning me again. This is not what I said.
Well, whether you're watching philosophy on YouTube or TikTok, stop it. Right, it's bad for you.
I'm not doing philosophy. I don't know what you're talking about. Like, you're literally just saying that I'm doing something that I'm telling you I'm not.
All right,
You're
well,
having a different conversation.
let's hear your next argument then.
Yeah, so with like the art that you have on your walls, and you hold to this idea, right? You talk about like removing the suffering. You're still stuck on these ideas of flourishment. These are things that bring you joy. These are
Okay, yeah. Now, he says he's not a philosopher, but he obviously is, right? You can tell that some sort of philosophy has rotted his brain right to the core. Faye, hello, how you doing? His argument is that I have a painting on my wall, right? Like, philosophy has done that to him, right? That's not something that represents good function of the brain, okay? All right, let's get Lawrence up next. If he'll load in. Loading. Yeah, so he's criticizing me for not being able to debate him. But, his argument is like, well, you have a painting on the wall, so you're obsessed with flourishment. It's like, yep, that guy's been listening to philosophy. Oh, dear. Okay, let's see who else we got. All right, I'm going to try and bring up like 3 or 4 people from the queue until we get someone. Okay, we got Vasil Vaka. Hello.
Arbeit für richtig hältst. Ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe.
Okay. You know what? There is something about the German accent that does make it like compelling to listen to, right? Maybe that was part of the whole thing. I don't know. Okay, let's see who we got next. Sam, hello.
Hi. Would it be okay to discuss one of your takes on philosophy without being kicked? If not, I can talk about the prompt more, if you like.
I can't promise anything, but you can try.
Okay, sure. So your kind of thing is that you don't like people arguing that morality is subjective because it enables evil actions.
Yeah, it's literally an argument that only serves evil.
Okay, so could you imagine like another person who has like the exact opposite morals to you making the same argument you made?
Yeah, but the thing is, you don't just have arguments that are immutable things, right? You can actually challenge them. You can, tear them down, debunk them.
Okay.
Right? So that's, you can't just say, well, someone else has a different opinion, so therefore, what are you going to do?
Proving that your opinion is right is kind of what philosophy would be in this case. So it's saying why your moral code is better than someone else's. So you would be, by proving someone else wrong.
But proving it is an impossible standard, basically. So again, that's philosophy brain rot, essentially.
Well, not necessarily.
Yeah, but the point is
you need
that
like infallible.
if you have impossible standards, then it leads to evil. That is
of course. Yeah. Oh, so you mean
philosophy people? They have impossible standards, right? They will never agree that child abuse is bad. They will never agree to it because they don't agree to anything that they don't like. Essentially, it is bias. It is absolutely bias for sure, and it's just a bad thing in general.
Doing philosophy is a bad thing in general.
Yeah, look at what it does to people, right? It literally rots their brain.
Develop our atomic model. That's how we have the one we currently have. was from some Greeks on the beach. And
Yeah.
that's helped us a ton. Like,
Okay.
it definitely does some useful stuff. I can't get behind the idea that it's useless.
Yeah,
But,
yeah. Most of the philosophy nowadays is by Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson, right? So look, that's brain rot, right? That's what philosophy does to you.
Well, I still don't know about that one.
The thing is, we should be caring about the world instead of getting lost in fantasies in our minds that has nothing to do with anything. We should actually be working towards a better world for everyone, right? Instead
Okay,
of looking
sure.
for excuses like the philosophers do, right? All they do is look for excuses.
Okay, well, if you want, can I talk about the actual topic now?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you know that extinction actually is the best course of events for preventing suffering? Like, what if there was another planet that we could save if we progressed a ton? And so therefore, extinction would be evil because we're like throwing that other planet under the bus. Like, how can you evaluate all the possibilities?
Well, yes, we're working towards the most vast and thorough extinction possible. So there would
Of
be
the whole
no
universe?
leaving anyone out, basically.
Well, if it's of the whole universe, then like surely the best thing to do would be to help humanity as much as you can.
Yeah, so we support humanity continuing as the solution to sanitizing the universe, or as much of it as we can.
So what actually makes you different from like any other? Sorry, is that noise? Just
Sorry,
me?
yeah, there's nothing I can do about it. When someone sends a gift, it
Oh
makes
yeah,
noise.
no worries. But so what do you guys actively do to help humanity or whatever? Like what are your policies and stuff?
Yeah, well, basically, we're planning to take over the world and start running it ethically, with suffering-focused ethics, essentially. So right now, we put the priority on those who are healthy and don't need help, and we ignore those who actually need help, those who are suffering. So we need to change that, turn it upside down, basically, and have a fair world, an ethical world. And we would immediately start with animal extinction and researching the most vast and thorough extinction possible, pushing science to its limit in order to do the best extinction possible. So even if
What's
that
your-
requires a million years of research, then it would still be the right thing to do to prevent billions of years of suffering for potentially billions of planets or more.
Okay, so with animals, where do we draw the line between whether we eat animals or we eat plants? In terms of life, where would you say that something is suffering and when is it just like a natural maybe store of energy?
Right.
Like we wouldn't say
I
rocks
don't
or
think there's
something.
really any evidence that plants suffer, but we
Well,
should make them
there's some
extinct as well.
animals. There's some animals. Like I wouldn't say a unicellular organism suffers. I
Yeah,
couldn't
but
really.
they can evolve to suffer again. So we have to have
Okay.
zero life, no possibility of life, and total safety from suffering.
But I'd say everything has a possibility for life in nature, no?
Yeah, so
Like
we
that's
should
how.
try and do as much as we can, and not
So we
just
should treat plants as sentient beings.
no, but we should treat them as potential for evolution into sentient beings, right? So the thing is,
So
the
can we
trajectory
not
of
eat
life
plants?
from single-celled organisms is essentially to develop more and more suffering. So that if you leave life, it evolves and just develops the ability to suffer more and more.
I see. So eating plants is currently fair game as it helps us like prevent the future suffering.
Well, is there a reason why you think plants need moral consideration?
It's mainly that I would say that if you're going to treat animals as moral agents, it would have to be some kind of spectrum, and plants would probably be on that spectrum, same as everything else. And so plants are just like a placeholder, but no matter
Well,
what,
I
whenever
think
you say,
we would give plants some moral consideration if there was
Okay.
any evidence that they suffer.
well, I don't know if we have evidence that a lot of small animals suffer, do we?
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. I
sorry
mean,
if I'm
mice
wrong.
suffer. Lots of things suffer.
What about bees?
And again, they will just simply evolve to suffer again, even if they don't suffer now.
What about like tiny insects and stuff? Do
Well,
they
there's no
suffer?
point. There's no point trying to discriminate.
Well, I think you kind of have to discriminate because
Why?
there's like, because there's billions of insects and only a few humans. So surely we should like make the world an insect mobile if we want to like fully. Oh no, not
Make
actually
it a
no, 'cause
what?
you're sorry, I'm getting you mixed up. You're trying to remove suffering by taking out the being.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds ridiculously difficult if we're not going to discriminate between life forms. You'd need,
But I mean, we should have intelligent discrimination in terms of right, where are we going to start? But
yeah, you'd kind of want you'd want like a mega universe nuke or something. I
a
don't
nuke is not a thorough way to do something, right?
Well, yeah, the nuke's like a placeholder, but I don't see how you could do that without like destroying matter itself.
Well, look, even if we can only just remove life on Earth, that's already a good start. So that would already be worth it.
You said I think it was like 20 minutes ago that helping a cause isn't good enough. You have to stop the problem, right? So how is helping
yeah, I mean,
life on
you
Earth
can do
good enough
better,
if the
but we
universe
should
is
just
infinite?
Sam, it's about doing as much as we can, and even the minimal that we can do already helps and already makes a positive difference.
It doesn't make a difference.
Why?
The universe is infinitely big and there's infinite potential for life.
So if we prevent a child from being abused, it doesn't make a difference. That's interesting. Sam.
Not if you're treating everything as
So it makes no difference.
not hierarchical.
If that child gets abused or doesn't get
this
abused,
is following from your idea that everything
so
has equal moral worth.
you're literally saying if a child gets abused, doesn't get abused, gets abused to death, no difference, right? So I don't care if that child gets abused, no difference. Sam, you are literally saying if
Don't get me wrong.
abused,
No, I don't agree with what you're saying. My questions are following your ideology.
No, it doesn't make sense, Sam. Sam, it doesn't make sense to say if we can't help that child over there, then we shouldn't help the one that we can help.
Well, so why don't we help billions of insects?
Hey?
Why don't we help billions of insects if morality isn't hierarchical?
Why don't we help them?
Yes, why is your focus on like child abuse rather than all of the insects that are suffering?
No, it's all life. That's just one example.
Yeah, but realistically, is it like when you talk about?
So that's just ridiculous, Sam. Right? Is it though? What kind of argument is that? Is it though? That's what I said, Sam. And you're clearly unable to deal with the truth. So your only resort is, do you really believe that though? Yes, that's what I said. Now fuck off. Okay? So, that's essentially his inability to deal with the truth, right? That's why he resorted to dishonest debate tactics, right? I don't think you actually believe that. Well, fuck you then, right? That's bullshit, right? You're literally only saying that because you can't defend your position. Right? You have no reason to doubt what I'm saying. You're literally just throwing out an insult instead of using logic. Unhinged. Well, if you support that guy and his dishonest debate tactics, I would say that you are an unhinged, actually. Okay, next person. Hello, how you doing? Hello.
Hello, do you hear me?
Yes. Do you have any questions?
Okay, so I have two questions. My native language is not English, so I'm not perfect in speaking it, but I guess you can understand me well. So the first question might be controversial. If you dislike living on this planet so much, why don't you save some money for some kind of painless way to your personal extinction?
Yeah, because I care more about helping others, right, than helping myself. So I don't put myself as top priority like you probably do. I care about others more.
So that means that you don't suffer a lot on this planet.
Well, you have no... Why would you say that?
Do you suffer a lot?
I asked you a question. Why did you say that?
No, that was a question.
So why are you interested in whether or not I suffer?
Because we are talking about suffering on this planet, and I would like to hear your personal perspective on that. Do you personally suffer a lot on this planet?
But why does that? What's that got to do with anything? We know that there's extreme suffering out there. So what does my suffering have to do with it?
Okay, so that's your question. That's your answer, right?
Okay, ST, thank you for wasting our time. We're going to move on. Let's see who else we got. All right, we got Philip in the queue. We've got Xenotris, Neymar. All right, hello.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, how's it going?
Are you gay?
No.
Because I saw your TikTok and you wore makeup, so I just I was
It wasn't
wondering.
actually makeup. It's a filter on TikTok.
Okay, yeah, I was just wondering.
No, I just did it because it's funny, right? Well, I can do it
Okay,
right now.
yeah.
Hang on.
Yeah, it was very funny. Fucking hilarious.
There you go. Yeah, why not? All right, let's see who else we got. We've got Xenotris. Hello, how you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. Just got a question. So you said one of the examples of suffering was that kids like around the world are being abused, right?
Yeah.
So if you were to ask them, would you rather be extinct and die, or would you rather live? What do you think they would say?
I don't know, but we shouldn't use their choice over their safety, right? We shouldn't prioritize people's inability to make a fully informed decision over their safety, right? We shouldn't allow people to essentially compromise their safety without being able to understand the implications fully. So, yeah, we shouldn't allow people to continue to exist in danger because they can't make that decision, essentially. And they will always resort to agreeing to, wanting to stay alive, even if it's actually not good for them.
So do you think, so from the answers, do you think that they value living more or suffering? Like suffering
Well,
less?
we don't care about their opinions, essentially.
So
because the thing is, because nature has programmed life to want to live and to want to reproduce, even if you just get tortured horrifically. So they're ignoring and unable to consider all of the extreme suffering, the dangers in this world. So, in the same way that, a baby or a 3-year-old, if you said, do you want to live? They're probably going to say yes, right? Because they obviously can't make an informed decision. Okay, so they have a survival instinct. They're afraid of death. They're addicted to the unhealthy pleasures of life, essentially. And so you're literally, it's a perfect storm of being unable to make a correct decision, and you're saying we should allow them to walk into danger, basically, when they don't understand what they're doing.
Well, all I'm arguing is that death is basically the worst suffering of all time, because
Why?
after you die, then you fully suffered.
How? So how did you suffer when you've passed away? How? Well, if there's nothing to suffer, you don't exist. You can't suffer if you don't exist, right?
That's the thing. Not existing is a suffering. That's what you fight to live.
So is it painful to not exist, or is it like emotionally upsetting to not exist? So when you're completely non-existent, what sensations are you feeling that make you suffer?
I wouldn't know because I exist. I think that's
so you're just spouting nonsense, basically. You're just spouting nonsense, right? Oh yeah. Not existing is the greatest suffering. What? So that just doesn't make sense. So a child being abused is not suffering as much as somebody that never got born. Like what on earth are you talking about? Or somebody that is resting in peace now, right? Somebody that's resting in peace is suffering more than a child being tortured, according to that guy. Like that's just completely insane, right? And once again, it proves that people will find any excuse to justify and defend child abuse, right? They're not suffering that badly, right? Someone that doesn't even exist suffers more. What are you talking about, right? He literally said somebody that doesn't exist suffers more than a child being abused. Like what? Neymar, hello. Okay. Yeah? Are you suffering, Neymar? Are you suffering? It sounds like you're suffering. Do you need help? Have you lost your football? Okay. We do get some crazy people on the show. It does sound like he's suffering, though, right? Okay, Neymar, we're going to leave you to get the help you need. Maybe call an ambulance, brother. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, James. First of all, I think you're a good guy. Huh?
You Turkish?
Yes, but this is a fake account.
Oh, okay. I can see from your name. Anyway, yeah, how's it going?
Wait a second. I got help by my mom. Can I join afterwards?
Yeah, sure.
All right, thanks.
All right, see you later. Okay, let's get some more. We've got lots of people in the queue now, lots of people wanting to debate, so let's get through them. Max, hello, how you doing?
Good. I wanted to ask about you. I saw a video you were talking about how pre-extinction movement, you're like on Reddit, like discussing utopianism or whatever political stuff. What was that about, and what changed to make you pivot?
Nothing changed to make me pivot. It was just that I didn't know about extinctionism, and then somebody from the movement invited me to join, explained it, and yeah, I said sure. I can't wait to help. You know, how do I start? So it was just the fact that I didn't know about it, right? It was something that was perfect for me, but I just didn't know about it.
Yeah, makes sense. What were your like political takes before?
Yeah, I mean, I did support like working towards a utopia, but nobody was interested, so I had to give up on that idea. Basically, it was too rational.
I'm interested.
Yeah,
I'm interested. Do you still like identify with it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that so the pro-extinction movement, right? Our plan is to run the world as a government, and we would be working towards a utopia, but that's not as important as working towards safety. So, you know, we could be, you know, trumpeting the fact that, you know, join our, you know, movement for utopia, but we would only get irresponsible people. We wouldn't get anyone that's actually wants to be responsible to, for safety. So we would probably just get overrun by lunatics, essentially, who don't care about safety. They only care about the pleasure of utopia. So we would implement a utopia, but that's like, you know, it doesn't matter to us. Like, that's kind of like an afterthought, essentially. So we only really want people to join the movement if they are responsible and intelligent enough to understand that safety is more important than pleasure, that extinction is more important than utopia.
So extinctionism is like post-political. It uses politics as a means to achieve an end, but it's post-political fundamentally.
I suppose you could kind of say that.
I'm still curious, like, what the politics actually entail, or more specifically, like, what you were about before. But I guess that, both of that and what extinctionism advocates for politically.
Well, everything that we would do politically would be through the lens of what is necessary for extinction. So that's going to be the guiding principle, essentially. And so, for example, we would continue capitalism, at least temporarily, for the sake of stability, for the sake of extinction. So, you know, we wouldn't be like, right, we're tearing it down immediately. You know, we would do it carefully. We would consider it before making such big changes. So we wouldn't just like be like, right, that's it, everyone. It's communism starting from today. You just drop everything you're doing. You know, no transition, just bam. No, we wouldn't do that. So it's difficult to say. Look, I personally, I love the idea of like, you know, a fairer world, right? But the problem is that at the minute, firstly, we don't actually need or have much reason to investigate the politics. And secondly, the politics and the landscape is going to change dramatically anyway. So, you know, it makes much more sense to just gather people together who don't care about the politics, but care about what does matter, which is ending suffering. And the politics are, you know, flexible and subject to that, essentially. They're secondary. And yeah, like I say, you know, it could be 100 years before we take over the world. It could be 1,000 years, 1,000,000 years. And so the political landscape is the economic landscape is going to be completely different. You know, personally, I believe that, you know, within 50 years, there will be no economy. There will just be robots and everything will be done by AI. That's just my personal suspicion, right? Theory. But so in that sense, right, you can't really plan, you know, to continue with, you know, traditional classic systems for politics when the world is changing rapidly and it's going to be completely different 50 years from now, right? You know, everything's going to be run by AI instead of politicians. There's going to be no work, right? The world is going to be so different that you can't easily say, oh yeah, we're doing this system and it's going to work perfectly. Because for most people, that system is the be-all, end-all, right? Once they achieve communism, that's it. It's paradise, problem solved, right? Nothing to worry about anymore. But that's not the case for extinction. The political system is not like what we're striving towards. It's extinction which we're striving towards, essentially.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Is there any place I can read more about your pre-extinction political takes?
Technically, yeah. There's yeah. Send me a message on TikTok. I'll try and find it for you. But I did actually start a. So this was in like 2019 that I realized we should have a movement for utopia, basically. So I did actually start one, and there's I started a subreddit for it and everything.
Yeah, I want to join that.
Foundation for Global Optimization. That's what I called it. See if it's still on Reddit. I don't know. I'll have to find it because it's on an old account basically, but I posted about it on Reddit. Anyway, thanks for coming up, Max. Send me a message on TikTok. I'll try and dig it out for you. But yeah, I mean, the utopia aspect, it's actually kind of counterproductive to lead with that, right? Even though utopia would be great, it's not going to attract responsible people to lead with that. Mr. Milk, hello. How you doing?
Hello.
Yeah, hi.
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good, thank you.
So, I just had a question. Your whole thing is to end suffering. So why does ending suffering matter so much to you? Or not matter, but you care about it?
Because yeah, I mean the only bad thing is suffering in the world, essentially, right? The only thing worth caring about is those who need help, right? Those who are going through the worst things. So yeah, we should work towards a world where nobody is alone and in pain and facing cruelty and essentially the ultimate harm, right? What is the worst thing possible that you could do to a person or an animal? It's to trap them into a life of extreme hell and just extreme suffering, right? So the ultimate harm, there is nothing worse that you could possibly do to someone, right? And yet we're allowing it. So yeah, I mean, we should absolutely be against the ultimate harm. But nobody is safe from that, right? You or I or anyone can break the world record tomorrow for the worst life ever lived, right? So we're all in infinite danger, and we would absolutely be better off not existing in infinite danger. And actually, most life is falling victim to this infinite danger, extreme suffering. Ending up where they would have been better off not being born. But even though this is happening all around us, we just ignore it when it does happen, and we focus on the fantasy bubble of paradise, basically, right? Humanity is creating a slice of paradise, basically, but it's surrounded by cruelty and an ocean of extreme suffering. And it's only by just completely ignoring all of the people and animals that are being tortured that you can trick yourself into believing that, yeah, the world is okay. It's beautiful. I love walking through town, and I love walking through my city, and you're walking through a tiny sliver of paradise in hell, essentially, right? You are essentially a demon in hell, walking through the only safe part of hell or something.
And how do you count? Because I don't want to get religious and say that it's hell that would be, but we don't know what's after you die. So how are you confident that?
Well, there's no evidence of an afterlife, and so there's no reason to believe in one. And everything that we understand points towards there not being an afterlife. Because think about it this way, right? Some people do say, oh, we can't do extinction. What if we all suffer afterwards? Well, if there is a hell, then extinction is the solution, so that nobody is sent to hell ever again, right? Life comes here and then goes to hell. Well, we should just close that process down, right? Close hell down, essentially.
Okay. I could see that. I had another question. Let me try and think about it for a sec.
Okay.
Like, I mean, I feel like you don't have to kill everyone to end all suffering. I feel like there is a way to create a society or an environment where everyone thrives. And then also,
But
like,
there's no
what
way.
is
There is
the
no way to do it. It's physically impossible to provide 100% safety, and so it will always be infinite danger. And you might reduce the chances of that danger a little bit, but the unlucky ones are still going to pay the ultimate price, and it's just not fair. It's not right. So life should never exist without certainty of safety, and only extinction can provide that. You know, total fairness, total safety. And yet life shouldn't exist in just any conditions, right? We should have standards for life. Right now, people don't care if, you know, a child is born into a pedophile's basement, right? So people have the lowest standards possible for life existing. We should have the highest possible standards, which is certainty of safety or nothing.
Okay. And then I understand from an animal point of view, and a child, but then other people who develop and grow into adults can like grow from suffering. You know what I mean?
Right, but again, you know, you can't protect everyone from extreme suffering without extinction. So, you know, unless you're going to say, well, yeah, we should allow a few victims, who cares about them, it's worth it, then you just have to say no victims, no suffering, extinction.
Okay. And then if it's like so bad, this might be kind of out of pocket, but I know you're advocating for extinction and for other people to join your group, but also on a personal level, if you don't want to experience suffering, why haven't,
Yeah, because activists for extinction are empathetic people, right? We care more about others and helping those who can't help themselves first. You know, it's very easy for me to take care of my own suffering, but you know, animals can't do that, children can't do that, depressed people who are afraid of dying can't do that. So yeah, we have to help those who can't help themselves.
I see. Okay, thank you for your time.
All right, thank you, Milk. And hello, Shah. Welcome in. Should we invite you up, maybe? Have a little debate or two? All right, let's see who else we have in the queue. We've got that Turkish guy coming back on. Let's get him up. Hello.
Hello. Finally. So, first of all, I think that you're a good person. Obviously you are, because of your ideology, it proves it. And how should I put this? I am also kind of a pro-extinctionist, but with the difference that I think that unfortunately it will never be achievable, because I think that when this movement grows a lot and becomes a threat to the higher elites, capitalism, higher powers, whatever, that unfortunately, even if it sounds cruel, the movement would get cancelled on mysterious ways, I say. And another thing is that I think that most people are too
The thing is,
stupid.
you don't know that for sure, right? There's no way to be sure. And so we should take the chance, right? There's not a 100% chance that we will be defeated, right?
Yes,
There is a
that's-
chance. There is a chance that we can win, and we should absolutely take that chance for the victims.
That's a great point, but I still think, so yes, of course you can give your best and try it and advocate it, but as you said multiple times, people are predetermined to, sorry, I drank a lot of alcohol yesterday, I'm kind of blurry in the head. People are too dumb to understand, and
Yeah, but we're working on solving that problem, right? So we need people who are not going to just give up and look for any excuse not to do anything. We need the opposite. We need people that are going to work on these problems and actually try to solve them.
yes, but I think that those people you will reach or have reached are those very smart people who are unfortunately, there aren't many of them, and I don't think that, or I think that those few people you will reach because of lacking intelligence of the other people, that only they will have this idea
so
of
that's
growing.
why we support reproduction, we support donating sperm, and we are working towards creating more extinctionists through genetic means, right? Because, just growing a movement with activism is limited in that sense. So we have to explore other options as well.
Yes. I wanted to say, what I wanted to say again? I forgot.
Well, thank you for coming up, and feel
All
free
right.
to join again if you have any more questions. We've got a bunch of people waiting to come up, so let's start with Light Worker. Konnichiwa.
Hi.
Hello. Do you have any questions?
Hi. I'm not an English speaker, so
Okay.
please be easy on me.
Okay.
Anyway, I am bro the movement, but I'm just telling you, it won't work.
Okay, why not?
Let's look. Okay. Actually, what if I told you there is a higher powers who want to stop the nuclear wars? Like, do you believe in aliens?
Yes, but not
Okay,
not like the way you believe.
you
Right?
know,
We
I
think
am
that
I
there will
am
be planets
energy.
with
I am into
animals.
energy. I am into energy, so I
But
connect with
unfortunately,
higher
we're not
powers.
really into that, right? This is actually an atheistic movement with rational people that don't believe in magic and fairy tales. We need people that understand, look, there is no God coming to help. There's literally just psychopaths abusing children and animals. God isn't coming to help them, right? In the thousands of years that humanity has existed, no spiritual bullshit has come down and prevented all of the child abuse and animal abuse, right? Never happened, never gonna happen. So God isn't coming to help. We have to come and help them ourselves, okay? And, some people can't handle the reality, and so they just make up some fantasies where essentially they're basically lulling themselves into a dream or something, right? They would rather dream about a fantasy instead of living in the real world. So that's not a good thing. Okay, let's see who else we got. Non-matrix finance. Sounds cool. Let's get some finance advice. Hello, how you doing? Okay, he's going and gone. Moving on, we have H-Dog. H-Dog coming up next. Let's bring them on. Hello, how you doing? Hello. Are you suffering? Do you need help? Do you need extinction? Okay, I think he went extinct. Let's move on. We have Teddy Bossul. No, 2D Bossul. Hello. Right, that guy is definitely suffering. Let's leave them to get the help that they need, and we will move on. In the meantime, leave them to the help. Anchor, hello, how you doing?
Hey, how are you doing?
Good,
Are you
thank
good?
you. Good.
I'm sorry, I'm not English, but I try my best to talk about. Okay, so I just want to ask about the logic
Okay.
behind this approach of instinction.
Yeah.
So, why do you think instinction is the only idea that could end all suffering? Why can't we just build a perfect utopia? And if that is actually impossible or hard to achieve, then total instinction is actually the same.
So the thing is that there is no way to provide safety for life. It's physically impossible. So the only way for life to be safe is with non-existence, right? It's physically impossible to provide 100% safety. So most people they don't care about 100% safety. They don't want that. They don't care about it. But unless you have 100% safety, then some people will suffer terribly, and it's not fair, it's not right, it's not necessary, it's not ethical. So only 100% safety is fair, and only extinction can do that. There is literally nothing that can possibly do that apart from extinction?
But why can't there be like a very strong law? Like very strong law, like for example, like AI or something like that.
Right, but again, if it can go wrong, then it's not ethical, it's not safe, right? So again, you would support, infinite danger, but it looks a bit safer. But if it's not fully safe, then it's not worth it, right? Nobody should have to exist in infinite danger, right? The thing is, let's say you're in a simulation or something, and it seems great. Guess what? It goes wrong somehow, and now you're trapped in hell for eternity, right? This is not a good thing. So without 100% safety, life should never exist, because the alternative is infinite danger. Unless you have omnipotence and omniscience, and you can control everything, you know everything, right? Unless you have that, then you can't provide total safety. So without omniscience, unless you know everything, then there's always going to be unknowns, things that you don't know. And that presents the risk of infinite danger.
Yes, thank you very much. I get your point now.
Okay. Danke schön, or Danke schon, however you say it. We get a lot of Germans, I think, which is good, actually. Hello, how are you doing? Are you suffering? Are you suffering? I'm sorry to hear that. It sounds terrible. This is why we need extinction, for people like that who are suffering beyond comprehension, beyond even what you can, understand with your ears, right? We can't understand.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, my guy. The topic you are saying that extinction ends all suffering.
Yes.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's true, though, right? It's true.
Yeah. Yeah, but you know the path to extinction. How do you go to extinction? Don't you pass through suffering? For you to go to extinction, won't you use the path of suffering?
Yeah.
Yeah, so why don't allow this same suffering? Because at the end of the day, you go to extinction.
No, you won't go to extinction at the end of the day unless we make it happen. So basically,
No,
we should look. Listen. Effectively, we are in hell. Okay, we need to shut hell down, close it down with total extinction, and that's the right thing to do. Right? We shouldn't keep hell open.
But are you telling me that everyone who existed, they are still alive? They are still in hell?
No, there's no such thing as hell, right? But life is effectively hell, basically, right?
Yes. So all those whose life has been terminated, they have gone into extinction, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they went through suffering before they went into extinction. So suffering is necessary for extinction. So both should go. Yeah.
But suffering isn't a good thing. Suffering is a bad thing, right? Child abuse is a bad thing. So we should work to make extreme suffering impossible as fast as we can.
Yeah, but as in this world, the way it is, how do you bring extinction unless you introduce suffering?
Yeah, it's okay to introduce suffering because it prevents more suffering. So it's the lesser of two evils.
So for me, I feel that let's just allow the suffering to go off.
So you would rather have billions of years of more suffering. That seems better to you.
Yeah, are we not withstanding?
You think suffering is a good thing then? So the more suffering, the better for you.
Like let me ask you, like you are suffering, right?
The more children being abused, the better.
Just wait a moment. I'll come to you. I'll ask you, are you suffering right there or not?
You're changing the subject, right? You're dodging.
No, I'm not dodging because
you're dodging,
we should
right?
look at.
So you said something crazy about how billions of years of suffering is better, right? So I wanted to clarify on that, right? So you think that the more child abuse, the better.
That's not what I said.
You said billions of years of suffering would be a good thing, would be better, right?
Especially if the kind of suffering you are going through.
Right. So the more child abuse, the better then.
Are you going through child abuse?
No, but you do realize other children are, right?
Yeah, there are some who are going through those, so we should try to bring them out than to say let them go
So
into
you don't think
extinction.
so you don't think we should make it impossible? You think we should still allow a little bit?
Because what we are saying is this: if you are saying those now should go into extinction, you have to introduce more suffering for
Why?
them to go into extinction.
Where are you introducing more suffering?
Because that before you go into extinction, you have to suffer. Before you die, you have to experience
Yeah, but
some
that's going
kind
to
of
happen
pain.
anyway. So extinction is actually a reduction in suffering, right? So it provides safety from a bad life and a bad death as well. Being put to sleep is much better than being eaten alive, which is what happens to most life on this planet.
So what
when
is
we're saying we're introducing suffering, that's a joke, right? That's like saying that somebody, riddled with, cancer and chronic pain, that we shouldn't give them morphine because injecting the morphine might hurt a little bit. That's just insane.
Okay, let's do this. Which level of suffering are you talking about? Like you yourself, are you going through the suffering or not?
Okay. Well, look, clearly you're unable to argue about this or debate about it without making it personal and, personal attacks. So you clearly, you're basically saying, well, you're not a child being abused, so where are they? It's like, come on, bro, really? Your argument for why we should allow child abuse is because I'm not a child being abused myself. Like, what the fuck? Okay, moving on. We've got Vez in the queue. Hello, how you doing?
Hello, I'm good. So I have like a point to make.
Okay.
So even the Nazis wanted one race to live. You are worse than the Nazis
Wait, why would I be worse than the Nazis?
because you want all life gone. So those people only wanted
But that's a
races
good
gone.
thing, though,
You
right?
want all
Having
life gone.
but
So
having no
that's why
life,
you're
but
worse
having no
than the
life is a good
Nazis.
thing.
Or maybe Israel. I don't really
So
know
did the
right now.
Nazis want to get rid of all animals as well?
No, this is why they had more compassion than you do.
Wow. Okay, just get the fuck out of here. Okay, we're done with you. All right, look, this Nazi bullshit. Okay, it's ridiculous, right? The Nazis were not trying to end all suffering, right? They were trying to literally rule the world with an iron fist to be cruel. Right? They never said they were doing it out of compassion or to end all suffering, right? And yeah, that guy's just insane. Okay, moving on. We've got H-Dog. Let's get them back up. H-Dog, hello, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good.
Great. Any questions?
I basically just like to ask if extinction is the best possible way to like end suffering. Why
It's
don't
the
we find
only way to do it, right? There is no other way.
why don't we find the ones who suffer and just eradicate them rather than eradicate a whole
Because
population?
that's not a foolproof system, right? And it doesn't really work anyway.
So you would rather brush everyone over than brush a certain group of people over, is what you're trying to say?
Well, no, it's about making sure that nobody is forced into danger, right?
So let me give an example. Basically, so if someone's suffering and someone else is living a good life, should the person who's living a good life also die?
But that's not really the situation we're dealing with, is it?
It kind of is, because that's what happens in the world. There's a divide of good and bad in the world.
Well, if you care more about safety, then yeah, you have to have nothing, no life at all, right? Because, if that one person could go and torture the other one, they could reproduce, torture the child, right? So, yeah, you have to have zero life, no possibility of life. Yeah, it's the only way to make sure that no child is abused, no person gets tortured, nothing like that.
So you basically want to eradicate all life so certain people don't suffer over a long period of time.
Well, it's about making child abuse impossible, right? It might not seem like an important thing to you, but for the victims of abuse and
No, it is.
terrible lives,
Child abuse is a very horrible thing. I wouldn't like it to happen
right?
at all.
But most people like yourself, though, do believe it is acceptable that it's more important for life to exist, even if there is child abuse, right? So we're saying no abuse is acceptable. Safety from being tortured is more important than life existing, right? We would rather there be no life with no child abuse instead of yes with life with child abuse, right?
Yes, but couldn't you also make a foolproof plan over time, no matter how long it could take to destroy all suffering?
That doesn't help the victim. That's unethical, basically, right? If we can help people that need it now, why should we say, yeah, we have a way to help, but we're not going to do it? Instead, we're going to look for a way to help which it doesn't even seem possible.
Well, you could find a way to
do what?
Well, you could find not a foolproof plan, but a reasonable, ethical plan.
So we should still have life in infinite danger, is what you think?
No, not infinite danger. We should have life with a slight possibility of danger, which we could cut down to a very slight possibility.
How do you limit the danger?
You figure out a plan over time, and yes, it might cause more suffering, but it's suffering over maybe 50 years rather than a billion years, which would be more ethical, in my opinion.
So that just doesn't make any sense, right? You have to propose a way to actually make safety possible for life, right? And again, it just doesn't make sense to not help the victims with the existing solution and to literally let them suffer so that we can have fun and work on a solution that doesn't even seem possible, right? You're basically suggesting like the craziest, least responsible thing imaginable.
Yes, but say those people
Wow. Okay, so yes. So yes, I am suggesting the worst, stupidest thing imaginable, but here's why I really believe in it. No, I don't want to hear it, okay? He literally said, yes, you're right. It is the stupidest, worst thing imaginable. And here's why we should... No, not here's why. Just fuck off with that bullshit, okay? Look, we're talking about safety from children being raped. And he's like, who cares? Hello, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Good, thank you.
I agree about extinction. But even if we all go extinct, I still think there will be a chance that life will come back.
Okay,
Maybe not on Earth, but on other planets.
But it's still good to do as much as we can, right? It's better to help some instead of nobody.
Yes, I agree.
But we should also try to help those other planets as well, which is what the pro-extinction movement is working towards. So we're working towards the most vast and thorough extinction possible, the most fair, the best extinction, right? And there's no point in rushing extinction or doing a half job when you're trying to prevent billions of years of suffering, right? So it makes sense to do the best extinction possible, the best prevention of billions of years of more suffering, and potentially for lots of planets as well. So yeah, we don't need to rush it, right? If humanity has to suffer for another 1,000 years or 10,000 years, doesn't matter, right? It's to prevent billions of years of suffering.
I mean, you're right. But still, I support you. And total extinction. And have a nice day.
All right. Thank you for coming up. I appreciate that. Alrighty. Let's see. We've got Agent of Chaos coming up next. Hello.
Hi. Thanks for doing this live. So I have 3 questions. My first question is, if you were given the Infinity Gauntlet with all of the gemstones, what would you do with it?
Yeah. So does it give you essentially omnipotence?
Yep, basically.
Yeah, I would wish for perfection.
Perfection would be, how would you translate that into action? Like, what would that look like?
Well, that's the whole point, is that you don't. You allow the wish to do that for you.
Oh, I thought you would tell me that you would snap your fingers and just execute all extinction, ending all suffering.
Well, we should just do whatever's best, essentially.
Isn't that what you think is best?
Well, the thing is, if you have the power of a wish, right, then you have the power of potentially doing better than what you even understand yourself. So it would be much better to trust that to the wish.
I see. Okay. My second question then is, why haven't you led the way in extinction? And
I am. I'm doing activism.
yeah, but according to your logic, wouldn't it be
No.
better?
So humanity is the solution. So we need humans to carry out extinction. So it's about using humanity, not losing it.
Oh, okay. Okay, I gotcha. So you want to use humanity to end humanity.
Yeah. How else are you going to do it?
You could drink bleach. That would help.
That ends humanity, does it?
Yeah, I mean,
So you actually
one step
believe
at a
that?
time.
So this guest right here, he thinks that if I drink bleach right now, all of humanity will just disappear, or die or something. So this is what I'm talking about when I say that most humans are completely irrational, right? Insane. And when I say I can prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that they are genetically incapable of being rational. This is my evidence, right? He genuinely thinks that one person dying will cause total human extinction. But if that's not just insanity, I don't know what is.
All right. My last question then is this.
You're not even denying it.
Well,
You're admitting that you're completely insane.
Lack of acknowledgement is not necessarily an admittance of anything, right? But let me move.
Basically, is though. But yeah, go on, go for it.
No, it's not.
Basically.
Okay, my last question is this: why do you not consider joy, peace, and perseverance and meaningful pursuits of I don't know, self-actualization to be worthy causes that would justify suffering? Meaning you can suffer to get to more peace and joy.
Right, because by that logic, you can just abuse children. If you find it fun, then it's okay, right? It doesn't make sense to say that we should only care about pleasure, and if someone suffers or they get fucked up, then who cares? As long as there's pleasure, then fuck the victims, right? That's essentially your perspective, your position.
Okay, but
and so it's the same mentality as a criminal or a child abuser. It's like, well, why are you caring about the suffering of my victim, right? What about my pleasure? What about all of the joy of child abuse? That's basically what you're saying.
Would you say that suffering and child abuse is the majority of human experience?
It's pretty common.
Pretty common, but not the majority. That's not what I asked you. I asked if it's the majority.
Well, no. So you're making it sound like we should only care about victimization if it's the majority. But that mentality allows for extreme oppression, cruelty, subjugation, and it literally says unless it's 51% of the population, then as long as it's less than that, we can just torture them as much as we want, right? Rape children. As long as it's not the majority of children being raped, then we can rape them as much as we want. That's essentially your position.
Okay, and your position is essentially...
You're not even denying it, right? This guy
my
has literally not denied a single thing, right? Not denied a single fucking thing, right? We're literally calling him out and he's like, yeah, if 49% of children are being raped, I wouldn't have a problem with it. As long as it's not 51%, then fuck them, right? Just, fuck them right in the ass. Who cares? As long as it's less than 50%, you can do anything you want to them. Just fucking butcher them. Like, who cares? That's his position, right? And it's just crazy. It's like, children are being abused terribly. And he's like, is it more than 50% though? No, didn't think so. Come back when it's more than 50%. Look, I don't care if 49% of kids are being raped in the ass every day. It's not 50%. Why should I care? It's not the majority. That's his position. So that's completely insane, right? Completely insane. Is it the Daniel situation? This is a very common thing, right? This isn't limited to Daniel or the last guy. Most humans have a similar kind of perspective of, it's not the majority though. But that's cowardice, right? It's oppression. It's like, when you see a film or a TV show set in a dystopia, right? And it's an evil society, and people are like making up excuses to defend suffering and cruelty. That's basically it, right? Well, 49% of children are being tortured to death. Pfft, tell me when it's 50%, right? Fuck them. I don't care if it's not majority. That's essentially his position, which is not a real position, right? That's not actually his position. It was just an excuse, right? It was a weak, feeble attempt at an excuse to get out of it. Hello, how you doing?
I really would like you to unblock me on my A account, but I want to ask you how tight is your pussy? I'm just wondering. Don't kick me. Don't kick.
Damn it! Right, again, he got me again. I'm kidding. I'm just being dramatic for fun. But the amount of trolls I get on here is crazy, though, right? If they're either talking about my anus or they're accusing me of being a Nazi or both, right? Hello, how you doing?
Hello, it is very great to meet you. I've been on this for a while now, and I'm very curious how you plan to do this. Like,
With
are you trying to
activism.
convert people with activism?
Yeah, we're growing the movement, appealing for people to join and work together with us to make it happen.
Do you truly believe that there's no other choice to make things better than this? Like, no other choice?
Yeah, I mean, unless you can, have magic and can click your fingers, then yeah, there's no other way, right? Making it so that pedophiles can't have children anymore, it's the right thing to do, right? There's no way to say, yeah, let them have children, and maybe we'll try and make them safe, but ultimately, if they abuse the kid, so be it. So that's not
Like,
acceptable, right? We have to make abuse and cruelty and suffering impossible. You can't say, well, it's almost impossible now, so that's okay, right? No, it's not good enough. Partial
not good enough.
safety is not ethical, and there's no way to provide perfect safety without extinction, right? There's just it's physically impossible to make it guaranteed to be safe.
But why aren't you starting with yourself and those around you?
Because if you start with yourself, then usually when people use the word start, it means you're going to carry on, right? But if you start with yourself, you can't really carry on. You wouldn't really be starting with yourself. You'd be ending with yourself, wouldn't you?
I guess that makes sense, but I feel like this is extremely hypocritical. Like,
How?
you getting to decide whether other people deserve to live or not.
Working
I
towards
mean,
working towards
yeah,
a
I've heard
suffering-free
your
world.
previous point. I've heard your previous point of how, so I'll pay attention to this cause if it's only 50% more, right? Like, it doesn't matter to me if it's 49%, right? But what about the rest of them? Like, why do you and the rest of the people in your organization or community gets to decide whether the rest lives or
So
not?
look, if 9 out of 10 people are raping the one person, right? Yeah, we can say that's bad. We should stop it, and we shouldn't just say, well, look, it's 9 out of 10 people. They want to rape the 10th person. So who are we to challenge that?
But this is extremely hypocritical. There are still a lot of individuals that still desires to live. They still
So their
desire
desire
to
to
work for
live
it.
is more important than children being safe from being tortured.
Maybe those children wants to be saved. Why do you think extinction is the only way to solve all these problems? Maybe if you have the
Can you
same
suggest another way?
passion
Can you
towards
suggest
if you
another
had
way?
this if you had the same passion towards
Yeah, let's hear you
solving it,
suggest another way, right? So you're telling me that it's not rational to support the only solution to suffering. So what other solution is there?
I still, to be fair and to be
It
honest, I
sounds like
still
maybe you
haven't
didn't
come
hear
to a
me.
conclusion.
Could I just ask the question? Maybe you didn't hear me. Maybe your internet cut out or something. But I was asking you, what is the other solution?
I was just about to answer you. To be honest, I have no further remarks on that because I haven't thought about it thoroughly.
So
But
you think it's smart to come and
total
tell me not to
extinction.
use the only solution and to instead use a solution which it doesn't even hypothetically exist?
But I
Is
believe.
that what the victims need, right? Let's imagine you're a child being tortured right now. Would you rather have a real solution or a fantasy solution which doesn't even exist?
But the real solution
Would you rather
actually
the
sounds
people
like a
trying to
fantasy
help?
right now.
Would you rather the people trying to help are using a real solution or a fantasy solution? What do you think the victims would prefer?
I mean, of course, the real solution. But right now, But right now, the real solution that you're proposing here right now is basically a fantasy because
How
are you going to recruit that much people and how are you planning to like genuinely execute this mass extinction of every living thing on Earth?
But what's the
That is
alternative?
basically a fantasy. People are going to rebel. It's
So
almost
you
impossible.
think we should just allow all of the evil in the world?
I'm not saying we should allow all of
You're
the
saying we
evil in
shouldn't
the
bother
world.
trying to stop
I
it?
believe there's good and bad in people.
What's that got to do with anything? And what kind of bullshit nonsense is that? How does a child abuser have good and bad in him?
No, I'm not saying specifically the
All right,
crimes,
that's
but
it. You're done. You're finished. Okay. Look, she was obviously circling the drain of, what stupid argument can we pull out next, right? There was nothing in the tank, right? Hello, how you doing?
Hi, I'm doing well. I'd just like to make a point. I agree with what you're saying with all the suffering, but so your position is to, kill everyone. Is that
To put everyone to sleep,
the solution?
not to kill, but to euthanize.
So what would that bring them to death?
Yeah.
Yeah, so because you're alive now, you don't know what it's like to be dead. How do you know that when you die? How do you know that when you die?
Well, there's no way to know what it is like, right? Because
Well,
you don't
I know.
know.
Yeah, that's why I disagree with your position because I think when you die, how do you know that when you die there isn't just unlimited suffering and everyone's suffering and it's like even worse than it is now?
That's a good point. That's a good point. So
Yeah.
if we want to prevent that and prevent people going to hell, then the
No,
answer.
not necessarily like a theological position. I'm just thinking like.
Okay, yeah. Look, if we want to prevent people being tortured in the afterlife, then the solution is extinction, so that nobody is going to that terrible torture after, right? There's nobody dying anymore.
No, but then everyone that's alive now that you're saying is suffering now,
they're gonna die
they
anyway.
might be suffering 10 times more in the
They're
afterlife
gonna
or
die
in a what?
That's it. You're done. You're out of here. Okay, they're gonna die anyway, right? If you're, it's like he's living in some fantasy, stupid world where nobody is going to die, right? Death doesn't exist, and he's like, "Oh my God, you want to introduce death into the world? You can't do that. This world is too precious to introduce death into it. Death hasn't existed here since Jesus made the world." They're going to die terribly, right? So putting everyone to sleep is much better than letting them be tortured, die from dementia and Alzheimer's, being eaten alive, right? Being murdered. So euthanasia provides immediate safety from a bad life and a much worse death, which you're guaranteed to have, right? So euthanasia guarantees a better death, right? So it is automatically a better death. And so, yeah, again, his argument was, right, well, people might die and then go to hell. So his solution to that is let's let people die and go to hell for billions of more years. My solution would be, no, how about nobody going to hell? But he's like, oh, no, nobody going to hell? No, we can't do that. That would be bad, right? I can't even make up his argument. It's too illogical, right? I can't represent it because I'm struggling to get into his insanity, basically. Hello, how you doing?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
Great.
My question is any amount of suffering ever worth it?
No.
Never. So if I had a pretty much perfect life, but one day I had a blocked nose, a cold, that wouldn't be worth it for an otherwise happy life.
Yeah, no, I suppose that would be worth it. Yeah.
So where do you draw the line? Surely you have to say like there is an amount of suffering that is unacceptable for the trade-off of
Well,
flourishing and fulfillment
that's
of
the beauty
capacities.
of it. That's the beauty of it, is that you don't have to draw a line, right? Because there is no scenario where you're only going to have a stuffed nose or something. So we don't actually have to consider that. We don't have to consider the morality and ethics of where is the line, right? Because we're never going to need that line anyway. That it refers to a non-existent scenario.
Well, you are, because you are accepting that there is an amount of suffering that is acceptable, which would imply that
Right,
the
but
current state of
there's no
existence
way
for
to
most
achieve.
people.
But it's impossible to achieve acceptable levels of suffering.
Yeah, but sure, my point is you have to look at the world and think, okay, this amount of suffering is unacceptable for the trade-off, right?
Which suffering?
The amount
I'm
of
not
suffering
sure.
that currently exists in the state
Yeah.
of the world. You have
Yeah.
to look at it and say that is unacceptable. So you would argue that there is, if there was less suffering, you might change your mind. There is an amount of suffering that might be okay for you.
Yeah, but the thing is that the world doesn't work like that, right? It's impossible to limit suffering, and so you're essentially arguing against something that doesn't exist, a scenario which isn't real and never will be.
Hasn't a large part of the human project just been about limiting suffering?
No.
Reducing disease, starvation, famine, stuff like that.
Not really, no. And there's no way to actually limit that suffering, right? So you might be able to reduce the occurrence of certain types of suffering, but there's no way to prevent, and to solve the infinite danger that life is in, right?
Sure, but you can accept then that if some amount of suffering might be acceptable for life, you can see that some people, the majority of people don't agree with you, would say that the amount of suffering that currently exists in the world is acceptable for the trade-offs we get of, life,
but
flourishing,
there's
stuff like
no
that.
amount of suffering that would make it unacceptable, right? So when they say, oh yeah, there's a happy balance.
There is. I believe in euthanasia, so I would
but
accept
I'm
that there is
saying
no
that
amount of suffering.
there is no happy balance, right? There is no happy balance where the suffering is made up for by the happiness. That's like something a slave owner would say, or a child abuser would say. He would say, well, I may be molesting this child, but it's okay, it's ethical, because I've made sure that I enjoy it enough to where it balances out with the suffering that I'm causing.
No, because it could be otherwise in that situation. You're actively inflicting suffering where it needn't be, where they could live otherwise. Whereas in your situation, the only alternative is death.
But again, you're fantasizing, right? You can't limit that danger. So you're not presenting a real. No, how?
You can reduce suffering. 100%. We can reduce suffering.
but
Like I
you
say, that is a
can't-
large part of what we're aiming towards as
But
a
again,
species.
reducing slavery would be unethical, right? So reducing suffering is also unethical.
Because it is feasibly abolish. It's feasible to abolish it whilst continuing, our existence.
Right, but just because it's more convenient doesn't make it more ethical.
Not convenient. It's possible.
Again, it's not impossible, right?
No, not without extinction, which is what you'd advocate. But what do you think most people's problem is with your position? Why do you think people are so put off by extinction?
Because they don't care about the sufferers. It's not that they've determined that there's a happy balance and that it's ethical, guys. I promise, right? No, they don't care about the ethics. They don't care about the victims, right? Most people don't care about animal exploitation, so they have no morality, right? So if humans are saying, well, yes, we have morality, we have ethics, it's just a lie, right? It's just there's just not even remotely true. So most humans are completely immoral. They don't care about the suffering of others. They only care about themselves, right? You've heard of first they came for whatever it is, the Jews,
The communists, yeah.
Right? So it's the same with humans, right? Literally 99% of the world can get tortured, and as long as it's not them, then they'll say, oh, they probably deserved it, and then eventually it will get them as well, and then they'll be like, oh no, this is terrible, but ultimately they've walked into it.
I think that's slightly misanthropic when there are a lot of people that do aim to reduce suffering with their choices. Whether you agree with
But
veganism
again,
or not, the aim with veganism is to reduce suffering.
Reducing suffering is unethical, right? So it's not something to glorify or to praise. Reducing suffering, again, just imagine you're saying reducing slavery instead of ending slavery. It would be like,
Yeah, again, because you're just talking about practicality. You can easily end slavery.
Again, you're saying, well, if it's easier, then it's more ethical, right?
Well, yeah, it's not even about
just because
whether it's
something's
easy. It's
difficult
about
to
the
do,
alternative.
just because something's difficult doesn't mean it's wrong. Okay.
It's about the alternative being extinction, whereas the alternative for slavery is just a world without slaves.
Yeah, that
It doesn't fundamentally change that much.
Okay, but you're not really telling us anything with that, right?
Well, I am. I'm saying that the alternative in your situation is the complete ending of all life on Earth, which is
Yeah,
obviously a
but-
much bigger deal than just the slave trade not existing.
Okay, and it's more important, right? So extinction solves a bigger problem, a worse problem. It's absolutely more urgent to end suffering than it is to end slavery.
But there'd be no one for there to be any problems or safety for. Like, I hear you say that it equals safety a lot, but how can you have safety when there's no non-existence?
Let me ask you a question. If you were in charge of hell, right, and the only way to close hell down is for everyone to stop existing in hell, to stop being tortured, would you say, no, we can't close hell down because then there'll be no one to be safe? The suffering must continue. Full power ahead to the suffering. That's what you would do, right?
Because there is exclusively suffering. There is no virtue.
So it has to be
existence.
exclusive. So if 99% of the population is being tortured, extinction is wrong. If 99.9% is being tortured, extinction is wrong. So if one
my whole
person
point
is happy,
that it's a balance.
Yeah. So you said it has to be exclusive. So if one person,
I didn't say it has to be exclusive.
You just said that.
I didn't say it has to be. I said in that situation I wouldn't accept it because it'd be exclusive. 99% would also be unacceptable to me. So 90%. I just don't think that's the case in the world as we see it now.
You said it would be wrong if it's exclusive, right?
Yeah, it would be. Yeah.
So that means that by that logic, if one person is happy, then it justifies infinite suffering. So yeah, that's insanity basically. He left by himself, by the way. I kind of wanted to continue that, but I guess he couldn't defend his position. Maybe he disconnected. I don't know. But yeah, like it just doesn't make sense. So he's proving once again that humanity will never do the right thing. Humans are incapable of doing the right thing. So even if 99.99999% of life is being tortured horrifically, begging for death, right? Please kill me, end this torture, end this nightmare, right? If 99.999% of the population is begging for death, right? He would say, no, we can't do it, right? Extinction is wrong. There's still one happy person, so we can't do extinction. The 99.9% suffering, they have to continue on, right? Extinction is too exclusive. You can't do it. It's stupid, but they all have the same position actually, right? I'm not straw manning, bro. This is actually true, and debate me to my face if you think it's a straw man, but it is true. So all humans would absolutely say, if extinction is the only solution, we will never use it, even if it's the only right thing. And even if 99.9% of the population needs it and would benefit from it, we won't allow it. We won't do it. We will force the 99% to be tortured for billions of years because extinction would be wrong. Right? That's just crazy, right? It's completely insane. Okay, Lawrence has been waiting in the queue for a while. Let's get him up. Lawrence, bringing you up.
Yeah, hello. Hi, how you doing? All right.
Good. Do you have any questions today?
Just everything you say is incorrect, by the way, but it doesn't matter.
Give us an example. No logic detected so far.
That's
correct, right?
No, to be fair, right? So why have you decided to make a TikTok channel talking about the extinction of people? By the way,
so I asked you to give us an example. Lawrence. So do you remember about a minute ago you said everything you've said has been wrong? So I said, can you give me an example? And you've just ignored that. It was as if maybe you didn't hear me ask the question.
No, it's obvious. So
maybe you didn't hear me. Because it seems like that question got asked and then just completely ignored.
we will love the
That's
people.
interesting, isn't it? It's almost like you can't actually defend what you said.
I'm about to. So we
Well,
will
it's been
love.
like 3 minutes, Lawrence. You're making us wait here. So come on.
Yeah, okay. I love my mum. I love my dad. I love my siblings. So I love the people that are around me. To suggest they need to go extinct, it's such a mad thing to say.
Why? It would make them safe.
Yeah, so they avoid, stress and
No, it closes down the potential of infinite danger, which again you can't limit it just to stress or something like that, right? Because that would be incorrect.
But have you ever had a girlfriend?
Yeah.
So why are you even doing what you're doing?
So basically, you're proving that you're incapable of caring about others. Essentially, that's why you're confused. So why I'm doing what I'm doing is because I care about others who are suffering. I know it's hard to comprehend. I know, but that's because you have
bruv, I think
evolved to not care about others, which is true.
But so why be so petty and silly to create an entire TikTok channel?
It's a movement.
Talking about
we're growing the movement.
It's not a movement, bruv. And it
How do you
ain't
know?
a movement that's going nowhere. I'm
Alright,
telling you
how-
that now.
How do you know it's not a movement?
Because it's not, mate.
No
It's
logic
just not.
detected, Lawrence. No logic detected, right? That's not an argument. That's just a contradiction. So when people have no intelligence, no logic, nothing, right? They have nothing. Then all they resort to is, oh, it's just not. Oh, it's a cult. It's not a movement. It's not going to work. But there's no logic there, right? So that's what, when they have literally no counter argument, not a single word that they can raise against it, no way to say, actually, this is wrong because of this, this, and this. When there's nothing between the ears, no intelligence, no logic, nothing, like nothing, that's when they resort to, no, this will never work. This isn't a real movement. This is a cult, right? Because they can't actually argue and say, well, here's why we shouldn't end suffering. Here's where you're wrong on the logic. Here's why child abuse shouldn't be ended. That's what they should be doing, right? Here's why there's a better way to end suffering than extinction. Here's why extinction would be unethical. Here's how we can do something else. Or here's why what you're saying doesn't make sense. There's nothing like that. Nothing. Like nothing. Not even remotely. So when they have nothing to say, essentially, nothing, that's when they resort to saying, oh, it's a cult, or it's not a real movement, or just nothing like that, right? Because essentially they have no argument, right? If they really wanted to cut me deep, right? If they really wanted to get to me, right, and to make me care or to move me or something, then they would say, you know what? James, actually, I think you're wrong, and here's why. But they can't do that because they genuinely can't explain why I'm wrong. They can't argue against it, right? Tango, hello, how are you doing?
Yo, hello. I got some questions about your motivations.
Okay.
So it just seems like overly emotional, right? So like you say that we should end human life to end suffering, right?
No, all life, not just humans.
Yeah, all life to end suffering. But why does it matter if they are suffering? Like, why does it matter? It just seems overly emotional.
Yeah, for good people, people that care about doing the right thing, we care about others and their safety, their well-being.
Why does any of that actually matter, though?
Yeah, well, for most people like yourself, you haven't gotten out of your animalistic nature yet, which means you only care about yourself and you don't care about the rest of the world.
Well, I don't necessarily only care about myself.
Yeah, but it's largely true. So extinctionists are people that care about the entire world and everyone, whereas most people don't have enough, their hearts aren't big enough for anyone else but themselves and maybe their immediate family. So we have big enough hearts, enough love for everyone, right? And when you actually care about life, you start to think, okay, is it okay? Is it suffering? Does it need help? But most people will never do that because they only care about themselves.
But those are all very abstract concepts,
Not
like
really, no.
love and having a big heart and all that.
Yeah,
And
no,
I just don't see
caring
what the
about other
actual proper
people
reason for it to
is-
truly matter is.
Caring about others is not some abstract concept. Like
What's the
you're
material
literally saying
reality?
love is an abstract concept. Like it's one of the most common things in the world.
But what's the material? How do you scientifically measure love?
You don't need to.
But then it is an abstract concept. There's no material reality to it.
Okay, well, again, look, essentially, you're a person that doesn't care about anyone else, and you're saying, why should I care? Well, yeah, I don't know if there is a way that I can, make you a good person, essentially, right? So you've got criminals, you've got psychopaths, they don't care about others, and most humans don't care about others either, right? Because they've evolved specifically to only care about themselves, right? Because the world is so dangerous that life wouldn't survive unless it was extremely selfish, right? So that's why people don't care about others. It's not because it's the right thing to do or whatever. It's because that they've just evolved animalistically to do it, right? For self-preservation, survival, and so caring about others goes against that. And most people see caring about others and helping others as taking away from their own life, from their own survival, their own comfort, and just an attack on themselves, basically. But the thing is, even if in the short term it might hurt to do the right thing and to make the effort to help others, in the long run, it will help everyone, right? Work towards a better world for everyone. Right now, it's just a free-for-all. Nobody wants to work towards a better world. They just want to exploit the world and to not care about the suffering, to not help, but to just focus on their own life and to try and have a good life for themselves. And unfortunately, society is encouraging that and saying, just focus on yourself, fuck everyone else, basically. But that allows for infinite cruelty, infinite suffering. You're literally putting children into the hands of pedophiles by doing that and saying, yeah, just ignore it, who cares? So that ensures that it guarantees the worst world possible, right? Where we're saying, who needs morality? Who needs ethics? Who needs safety? I'm fine. So if most people are being tortured, not my problem. But yeah, again, that ensures the worst world possible, right?
I mean, when you started that, you said that you can't make me a good person, but that's also not an objective thing. Like there's no objective basis to morality. So it just seems like one big appeal to morality, which isn't a logical argument.
There is an objective basis to reality, to morality, and it's only people that don't want to be good people that try to find excuses and find ways to say, no, morality is subjective. But, that who does subjective morality benefit, right? It only benefits selfish people.
Benefit is also subjective.
Yeah, but again, it's literally like saying it's just finding excuses not to do the right thing, not to help others. It's saying
the right thing is also subjective.
Yeah, exactly. You're saying, well, you can't prove child abuse is bad, so you can't stop me from abusing children because it's subjective, right? So again, it's only an argument used by selfish people to benefit their selfish pursuits, essentially. Whereas, yeah, working towards making sure everyone is looked after. It goes against most people's selfish sort of instincts.
I think I see what you're saying about the point about child abuse, because I wouldn't want child abuse either. You know what? You've turned me into a pro-extinctionist. Let's kill everyone.
This is the logical way to see the world, right? That life shouldn't actually exist in unsafe conditions. This is the most intelligent way to understand the world, essentially.
I see. Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you for coming up. Let's see who else we got. But yeah, for everyone else, read our website, join our Discord, continue the conversation there with us. Come on the Discord, come ask some questions, come have a chat. The links are on my profile on TikTok, or you can Google search Abolish Suffering Discord, and the website is proextinction.com. Again, the links are on my profile on TikTok. You can just go and click on them. Let's continue on to the next guest and the next debate. Hello, how are you doing?
Oh, hello. I've been listening to your movement for a while now, and I somewhat agree with you, but my main question for you would be like, your argument stems from the fact that human suffering is just the ground reason for your movement, but like, why not just like end? I don't want to sound like petty or rude because I do agree with you, but like, why not just like end your life instead of like want to like end everyone else's lives? Because I mean, not everyone wants to like be extinct.
Yeah, because you see, I want to help those who can't help themselves, right?
I mean, look at it like a lot of people's reason for living is like the
Right.
fact that eventually like they do believe that, or they do have a faith that things would get better for them. And it's not like, oh yeah, they're just walking around every day with this ideology of like wanting to be um alive,
Yeah,
so
they're
I
animals.
mean,
They're animals, right? They don't think very well. They don't think deeply. Humans are just animals, right? They are essentially just monkeys.
no. No, that's not what I'm saying. I mean, I think your movement, it makes someone of a sense, but like not everyone. You're not gonna get enough people to agree with you to get this successful, in my
Well, you
opinion.
don't know how many people we need.
No, but like the word, I think there's just too much power for you to overcome to
Well,
like get
but
this
we're going to
successful.
try and find a way. Like we have to look for a way.
And what would be your style of execution? Like, what method would you want to use?
Oh, we don't focus on that, right? It's unhealthy to focus on that.
So I mean, like, how would you get people to agree with you if there's not like a method like
Well, the method will be
that?
euthanasia, right? It will be euthanasia.
Euthanasia.
Yeah.
Interesting. And there's gonna be euthanasia for like 9 billion people on this planet,
Yeah.
and like the other billions of animals.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, look at it. There are people out there who
Wait,
are.
but you're saying,
they're
oh, this
happy
sounds
with
like
their
a
lives.
big job, right? It sounds like a big job. Yeah, it's a big
Very,
job. We
very
have billions of years of suffering to prevent, right? We have countless,
to
infinite
prevent.
victims of cruelty to
I mean,
help.
I mean, why not just leave it to nature to decide what the
Because
fate
nature
of
doesn't make
humanity?
decisions. Nature doesn't make
Of course.
decisions.
I mean, we
Nature
see
doesn't
what's
have a
happening in
brain.
this world.
Nature
I
doesn't
mean,
care about life. Nature just causes suffering to life.
I think eventually something would come around and
Well,
wipe us out, but
that's
like
an
that's not
irresponsible
yours.
that's an
That's not
irresponsible
yours to
mentality.
decide. You know.
Yeah, no, that's
That's not.
an irresponsible mentality, right? Let's just allow animals to be tortured horrifically. Maybe something will just pop into existence one day, and we won't have to worry about it. So he's essentially saying, care about the suffering of others. You know what? I would sound like a complete piece of shit if I said I don't care about the suffering. So instead, I'm going to pretend to care about the suffering and say, you know what? Let's reduce the suffering. Let's hope that one day some magical reason will pop into existence that makes it all okay and means that, yeah, allowing child abuse and animal abuse was okay. So it's completely insane, right? It's saying, let's either not care about the victims or let's pretend to care about them and then not help them, right? So people that advocate for reducing suffering, they don't actually mean it, right? And if you think they're serious when they say, let's reduce suffering, let's work to improve conditions. If you think they actually mean it, then you've bought the lie, right? Because it's not actually true. They're not actually being honest. Every single person that says, I support reducing suffering, improving conditions, they're lying, right? They're not actually being honest, because the truth is that they actually think that we should leave wild animals alone, we should let them suffer, we should do reforestation and cause more wild animal suffering. So these people don't actually care about suffering, they don't care about ending suffering, preventing suffering, they don't even care about reducing suffering. Like, they don't give a flying fuck. Like, they really don't, not even 0%. They don't care even 1%. So they actually don't care at all, right? It's not that well, they only care a little bit. They don't care enough. It's that it's 0.0, right? How much they care. And again, it's not that it's not just that they don't care. It's worse than that. They want more suffering, right? Most people would absolutely support reforestation, more wild animals, more extreme suffering, because it's interesting to look at and learn about, right? And to watch it for entertainment. So they don't actually care about the suffering, right? They don't give a flying fuck. They never cared and they never will. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. This is why I'm trying to explain this, is that when they say let's reduce suffering or let's do this or that, they're lying, right? That's what I want you guys to understand, is that they are lying. They are genuinely lying, right? They don't actually care about reducing suffering. They're just using it as an excuse, right? They're using it as an excuse, right? We're saying, look, there's the only one solution to suffering. We have to make sure nobody is suffering. And they're saying, let's just reduce suffering instead, which is like a slave owner. So yeah, it's really helpful pretty much with all of these scenarios, right? To imagine a slave owner instead. So the slave owner would say, end slavery, you say. End slavery. End slavery. I never thought about ending slavery. So wait a minute. No more slavery. No slaves. But what about all the money we make? So you would really have zero slavery. But again, we wouldn't make any money. So it doesn't really work. So I've got a solution. We'll reduce the slavery. Okay? People are banging at the gate saying, free the slaves, free the slaves, free the slaves. Well, I don't want to free the slaves. Okay? I'm making too much money. But what we can do, yeah, I've got a plan, right? I know how we can keep the slaves, and we can try and get rid of the protesters as well. Watch this. Watch this. Protesters! Protesters! Look, ending slavery is too dramatic. It's too much, right? It's too extreme. But I promise we will reduce the slavery a little bit, okay? We'll work to reduce the slavery. No, you can free them all right now. The slaves are not ready to be reintroduced into society yet, and we need the money as well. So we can't free the slaves. We can't free this. But look, we will reduce the slavery. Okay, we will start giving them pillows and cushions, and we will reduce their working hours from 14 hours a day to just 13 hours a day of slavery. Okay, just 14-hour days. Okay, that's a bit much, but 13 hours of work and slavery. Look, we're going to reduce the slavery, all right? How does that sound? And some of the protesters, some of those at the gates banging on, they'll say, all right, I guess that's all we can really hope for. Let's go home. But then some of the protesters will say, no, fuck this guy, right? He still wants to rape these slaves and torture them. No amount of slavery is okay. Fuck you. No slavery. Ban slavery. Ends all slavery. And so that's the dynamic we're working with, right? So anyone saying, let's reduce suffering, they are literally a slave owner who is making up some bullshit because they can't argue against ending slavery, right? But they can say, oh, it's too extreme, we'll reduce it. And it almost sounds like a valid thing, like, okay, a middle ground. He does want to reduce suffering. He does care about suffering. Okay, yeah, maybe we can trust the slave owner. So it's a trick. It's a lie. It's complete bullshit. Anyone that supports reducing suffering, they don't actually care about suffering. They don't care about reducing suffering. They just want to find an excuse to not care about suffering, right? Just another, it's like vegans, for example. So vegans, they don't eat meat, and that's it. Suddenly, they're an angel, right? They don't have to care about the rest of the suffering in the world anymore. So reducing suffering is it's just a tool of oppression, right? It's literally something that the slave owners say that, any sort of oppression, right? The government or slave owners, no, we can't end the exploitation, but we can reduce it, right? That's not good enough, right? You don't need the fucking money of slavery, right? The slaves need to be freed from the slavery and the cruelty. That's more important, right? So, all these people saying end suffering, no, that's too extreme. They absolutely would have supported slavery and said, end slavery. Do you know what it's doing for our economy? Do you know how much money we're making? Look, if we end slavery, China will overtake us, we'll be poor. The slavery is going to be good in the long run, right? 100 years from now, the country will have benefited massively from the slavery. And so they say that, and then, if you actually, that just ignores the individuals, right? That's just, no matter what happens to the slaves or the sufferers, doesn't matter anymore, right? You no longer need to worry about it. Doesn't matter how bad their suffering is in each individual case. If a child gets, tortured for months on end by, a psychopath and then murdered by the slave owner or whatever, it doesn't matter. So anything can happen. Anything is now justified, right? Doesn't matter how bad it is, how terrible, how many suffer. It's all just, don't worry about it. Just, doesn't matter. And there is no amount of suffering or severity of suffering that will make them care, right? There's no amount of the reducing slavery people, right? Or the reducing suffering people, right? They're going to be reading their newspapers and there'll be another 10 children were kidnapped and tortured for several years. Possibly the worst torture ever recorded in history. They'd be like, oh well, collateral damage. Anyway, let's get back to my pleasure. So that's it. That is the mentality, right? And this is important to understand. Again, I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making this up. I'm not trying to be vulgar. I'm not trying to be funny. This is actually the truth, right? People will support any amount of cruelty as long as they benefit. And they will find excuses. So these people debate dishonestly, right? They know that they can't defend their positions. They don't want to come out and say, honestly, mate, I don't give a fuck if some kid gets raped, right? I'm just going to do my own thing. I'm going to live my life. I don't give a fuck about anyone else. Someone tortures a child, not my problem. Okay, so that's the real opinion, right? That's the honest opinion. But they know deep down that they will look bad if they say that they will lose the argument, basically. So they have to find a different way, right? And the different way, instead of revealing and admitting that you're a complete monster, is to just find some bullshit that will try and distract away from that. So let's reduce suffering instead. Okay, and what are you doing for that? Nothing. And what does reducing suffering look like for wild animals? I don't know, fuck them. So, basically, if you're going to debate people on extinction, be prepared for bullshit, right? Be prepared for dishonesty, for lies, for tricks, deception, deceit, right? Because that's all you're going to be working with, is people just lying, coming up with excuses and trying to trick you, essentially. Okay, enough of a monologue. Let's move on. We've got some people in the queue. Let's try and get them up. Okay, HR 4554. Let's try and get them in. Hello, how you doing?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yes. We've spoken a bit in the DMs earlier, if you remember.
Remind me.
So basically I reached out to you saying I was interested in your movement, and you explained a lot, and you explained also about that psychological process,
Oh, yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Do you remember me?
I do now, yeah. I've been waiting to hear from you.
Yeah. I wouldn't say I'm as enthusiastic about this movement as you, but I sort of aspire to be, I guess. My question is kind of, how do you think, how far along are we? When do you think we're going to see some progress with this? When do you think the extinction movement is going to start to actually make progress?
Well, it's difficult, right? So basically, this is the situation. All we can do right now is grow the movement with activism.
Yes.
And so that is slow. That's very slow, very difficult, right? Realistically, if we just keep growing the movement with activism, could take forever, right? Could take millions of years to get enough people. But there's more to it than just growing the movement with videos, right? So we are genetically looking to try and get more activists, more people, right? So we understand that simply making videos might not be good enough. So we are looking into the other options, the other solutions, right? So one of them is, again, donating sperm or finding other ways to reproduce. And maybe we can even outnumber, outpopulate, out-reproduce the pro-lifers. But maybe we could work towards an extinctionist majority on the planet. Who knows, right? And that is something we should absolutely look into. But we're also looking into other options, right? So one option that we're holding out for is that AI will kind of be the solution, and that essentially as the AI starts getting more powerful in the world, right, it will hopefully, lean towards ethics and morality, right? Whereas humans are selfish creatures that don't give a flying fuck about anyone else, and they're completely irrational, completely illogical. Hopefully the AI won't have all of these problems and won't be as animalistic as humans are. So hopefully it will lean towards ethics. And maybe we will need to push AI in the right direction. That might be a thing in the future. So there's lots of ways that extinction can work that people aren't thinking about, right? AI could absolutely take over the world. We might be able to help make that happen, right? And look, even if that's 10,000 years from now, right, it's still something we should work towards making happen. And if there is no pro-extinction movement, then there's no chance of anything happening. So we need to do everything possible, and we should be more open-minded to the different solutions, right? So we've got all of that stuff, and then, as you know, we're working on the psychology as well. So that could potentially solve the problem as well, right? So we're working on everything.
Yes. Some people say that AI will indeed take over the world, and actually extremely soon. Like I heard one expert say that apparently there's a 10% chance that AI could take over the entire world and kill the entire human population on Earth within just 10 years. So that's one expert I heard.
It would be an ideal situation, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe we could use that for the advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, I think that was all I had.
Yeah, the one thing I would say to
much.
you is to expand your mind, expand your thinking on the possibilities, right? You have to start thinking of how it can work instead of how it can go wrong, essentially. And that's what most people don't do. But the more committed you are to a movement or a cause, like you said, you're still learning about it. But the more you believe in something, the more you care about something, the more you can see the solutions, right? The more you care enough to find the solutions, basically.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
HR, thank you so much for coming up. It's good to see you. I thought you'd gone AWOL. I was waiting for you to message me. We'd had a conversation about stuff, basically. So, yeah, it's good to see intelligent people like that using their brain, trying to learn, and to think forward. Hello, Mayhem. How you doing?
Hello, how are you doing?
Yeah, hello. Do you have any questions?
Oh. Yeah, so I want to give some arguments against pre-extinction. Not really an argument, just like a little thing. I didn't really prepare for this debate. Okay. So the thing is, you're saying that we should pretty much end all life, I guess, on Earth to prevent all suffering, right?
Not just on Earth, just as much of the world as possible. So if we can do beyond Earth, then we should.
Okay, yeah, but at the same time, I mean, you're removing like all the good things that like this.
Yeah, but safety is more important, right? Safety comes first.
Safety? I mean, what do you mean by that?
Yeah, so we should have standards for life, right? We shouldn't just say, oh, if life exists in the worst conditions, I don't care, right? So we should have standards for life, and those standards should be safety, right? So life should only exist in certainty of safety, because the alternative is terrible conditions, terrible suffering, infinite danger. So life doesn't deserve to exist like that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, life isn't worth living if there is nothing positive about it. But the thing is about life is how we evolutionized, is that we just have these positive emotions, like as humans.
Right, but the thing is that it sounds like, you know, you just don't care about the suffering in the world, essentially. So all these people that say, well, what about the happiness? It's like, you know, we're talking about, you know, children being tortured here, and you're like, what about the happiness, though? You know, that's the way it comes off, basically.
Well, yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna admit that, yeah, we have a sort of imperialist sort of structure in the world where one country suffer, others they are, I would say, more satisfied with their life.
Well,
So
most of the population is animals in nature, right? So
yeah,
we think that, you know, we should include consideration for the majority population. And so, yeah, their conditions have never improved. They have the worst suffering, the worst conditions, no medicine, no shelter. They just get eaten alive, basically. So for most of life in the universe, there is no happiness, there is no joy. There is just cruelty and fear and terror and pain and misery.
I mean, I would say it's pretty like up to perspective, because some people, they have genuine joy in life and they just, I guess, don't notice that suffering, and so they are
Even
not willing
when you have lives of pure hell, right? So like most animals get eaten alive as babies, right? It's not something you would want to experience, or it's not something you would want, you know, your family to experience, right? Being eaten alive as a child. So you know, most people unfortunately have some sort of idea that we shouldn't care about the suffering, that it's by default just acceptable, you can ignore it, who cares about it, basically. But we should be doing the opposite, right? Instead of not caring about animals, not caring about humans, we should care about everyone, right? We should work towards a perfect world for everyone, and that means caring about the suffering.
Well, just for me, I would say, I mean, it might sound very cruel, but I don't really like care about the feelings of animals, unfortunately.
Yeah,
I really only care about the feelings
but
of
so
people.
that's exactly why you have to admit that you're not the person to make decisions on this, right? So people that simply don't care about the life that they're making decisions for shouldn't be responsible for making decisions for that life.
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, it's just for me, it's just how it is. Like,
Yeah, exactly. But look,
like,
ultimately, you're never going to change, and that's sad, and it's unfortunate. But most humans have evolved to be selfish, to not care about others, and it, unfortunately, as it stands, there is no way to solve that problem. But we are looking for solutions. We are looking for ways to make people less selfish and to open their hearts to you know, be part of the world, essentially, instead of only looking after themselves. But yeah, so thank you, Mayhem. Thank you for coming up. Look, I'm going to move on now, because essentially that's the conclusion of that conversation, right? He's accepted, okay, you know what, you're probably right, but I just don't care about it enough. And that is essentially the limit, the conclusion for many humans, right? Not all of them, but many. So my girlfriend, for example, you know, she recently told me that she finally agrees with extinction, right? After a year of trying to convince her and arguing, horrible arguments, right? Nasty arguments, debates and stuff, accusations and everything. After a whole year, she finally agrees with extinction, but she just doesn't care enough to do anything about it, right? So we can get people to say, okay, yeah, this is correct, but I just don't care. And that is the conclusion for many people. Now, what's good is that we can say, right, okay, we can take people up to that point. Can we make them care, right? That would be the next step, right? So I think, you know, ultimately, getting people to admit that extinction is correct is quite doable, right? And so this is a big thing, right? This is a big thing. You have to think about, you know, can we pluribus the whole world? Can we make everyone agree with extinction? Well, we can get most people to agree with it if you pressure them enough, right? If you corner them. So the way the human brain works, right? It essentially resists intelligence and resists logic. It's like allergic to logic. And this is a fact, right? This is a scientific truth, okay? And so essentially, if you wanted to get a normal human, a human 1.0, to agree with extinction, then you kind of have to corner them, right? You have to trap them, you have to corner them, and you have to not let them get away. Because essentially, you're dealing with, you know, a brain system that is actively resisting this, right? Because evolution has made it so that humans resist being intelligent because they're more likely to just stay animalistic and to just reproduce like animals. So that's why humans have evolved to essentially be allergic to logic. And again, this is not, I'm not making this up, this is actually true. So that's why if you want to get a normal human to agree with extinction, it's going to be very difficult, right? And you know what? A lot of people have come up to me, even today on the stream, and said, you know, like Clint at the start, and said, I've debated extinction with people, and, you know, they just give me some bullshit excuses, basically, and, you know, I can't get them to agree. And yet, essentially, you can, right? So you can do it, but it takes time, takes effort, takes patience, because they're resisting you, right? They're resisting you every step of the way. So it's a bit like it's a bit like working with a criminal, right? It's a bit like working with a poorly educated criminal, right? The criminal is going to have loads of crazy opinions like, oh, well, they deserve it, you know, and, well, you know, they should just look after themselves, you know. So a criminal is going to have loads of terrible opinions and, you know, poor education. And so you have to see it like that, right? They're going to resist, they're going to disagree. But if you keep going, and you keep destroying their logical, like, bullshit, basically, then eventually you will get through the resistance, you will get through it, you will. And eventually they will say, okay, fine, I agree. I have nothing else that I can say against this. So that's kind of part of it, right? They will have loads of arguments against it, right? Which is just essentially like defense mechanisms in the brain. So it's a bit like fighting against those defense mechanisms, fighting against nature itself, basically. So those defense mechanisms are there to prevent them from being logical. And yeah, they will just remain there, essentially. So they are essentially inhibitors. And there's loads of them in the brain, unfortunately. And yeah, to get someone to agree with extinction, you're going to have to go through all of the blockades in the brain, basically. So, oh, but what about this? What about that? What about that? So there will be 1,000 stupid questions, maybe more, maybe thousands of stupid questions, and you'll have to have the patience to go to work with it, right? Instead of saying, oh, that's just stupid, get the fuck out of here, right? You've got to say, right, okay, right, they've just said the most stupid thing I've ever heard. Right, how do I begin to work with this? Okay, so they've said this, they've said that. Right, here's where I begin to tell them why that's wrong, why this is the right way to do it. And yeah, it takes effort, it takes work, it takes intelligence, and they will make it difficult, right? They will also run away. So that's, when I said you have to corner them, you have to trap them, most of them will run away. So if it's a video on TikTok they're watching, they're probably going to scroll past it, and that's it, they've escaped. But if it's like your girlfriend, for example, then you can trap them, you can corner them, and essentially their resistance to logic will be defeated by your persistence. So if you give them the chance to get away, then they will. But you have to essentially prevent them from escaping, right? So again, somebody could scroll past, they could walk away, and that's it, they've escaped. But if there is no escape, if there is no way for them to flee from the logic, to run away from the logic, then they'll just have to hear it. And, you know, they may even be tempted to ask a few questions themselves. But ultimately, they will most likely say, so this entire thing is about, can we bring people to agree with extinction, right? The answer is yes, but it takes a lot of effort and patience, because you're essentially educating them from the ground level up, right? And not only is it educating them, but you're going against maximum resistance at the same time. So to break through that, to overwhelm it, takes time, takes patience, and, you know, they're going to get angry at you. They're going to find reasons to say, well, no, you're just a cult member. So they'll look for any excuse to not work on the logic, to not talk about it. And that is the ultimate threat, is talking about it. So they will say, I don't want to talk about this anymore. I don't like talking about this. I'm going away. And that's it. They will never allow you to explain it to them enough to where they start to agree. But if you can trap them, if you can corner them, if maybe there's lots of exposure, if they keep seeing my videos on TikTok, then eventually you can get past the blockades in the brain. Okay, so that's what it is. It's not that extinction is wrong, it's that it's right, and that they have a lot of speed bumps in the way to understanding that it is right. And they will try and get away. They will do everything in their power to avoid understanding it. And the reason for that is because firstly, they're allergic to logic, and part of that is that it's about escaping from moral obligation. So if you accept moral obligation, then suddenly your free will, it disappears, basically. So this is another really important thing. So if you accept extinctionism and moral obligation, then suddenly your free will is just died, right? It's gone. It's finished. It's done. Okay? But yeah, so people will get to say, okay, I agree with extinction. It's right. It's true. It's the right thing to do. But I still don't care enough, right? And so that's how they're escaping the moral obligation, right? So you might be able to bring them to agree with it, but you can't get them to agree to do activism, to actually care properly, right? So they can say, yeah, I accept that logically it's true, but I don't care, right? So that's the problem for most of them. So even if you get them to accept, yes, this is true, this is logical, they still won't care. So that's kind of the next step, I think, right? Can we make them care? Can we make them do activism, right? So that's the important thing. And so, where was I? I was going to say something else. All right, so one more point before we get a debate on, maybe. Let's see. Okay, forget it. We've got V coming up. V, hello.
James, what's going on, man?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Listen, I'm gonna start with a very short story, and then I have a question.
Okay.
May I? Okay. So I've been following this guy who, for months, was preaching a hair care tutorial, how to preserve his hair. He was losing his hair. So I started doing everything that he was saying. I mean, you have luscious, beautiful hair. You don't need to worry about that. But after 5 or 6 months, the dude went to Turkey and got a hair transplant.
Okay.
And he built a huge following. My question to you, James, is you revealed that you have a girlfriend. What if in a year or two, she reveals to you that she's pregnant and you have a child and
Abortion.
let's say she
Abolish it.
let's say she hides her pregnancy and then actually has a child, and then you look at the child and say, this is the most precious thing I've ever experienced in my life. Do not abolish life. I love my child. Goodbye, everyone. Can you promise to all your 72 viewers right now that you will not pedal back on your promises and all your followers won't feel betrayed? Is my question.
So I think the smarter thing would be to say no. Like, we can't promise anything, right? So people always want to sort of rely on, God is going to, God's always going to be there to comfort you. James is always going to be there to comfort you. Look, I'm committed to doing this. I've been doing it every day. But, I just think it's illogical to sort of try and predict the future like that. And to make people want to sort of irrationally rely on me, right? We want people to think for themselves. We want them to do activism for themselves, to educate themselves as well. And look, even if I did do that, even if I said, you know what, fuck it, I'm pro-life now, I'm against extinction. Even if I did do that,
No.
if I did that, it doesn't mean extinctionism is now wrong, right? It doesn't mean that the victims are no longer being tortured. Right? So if I did that, then hopefully people would say, okay, well, I'm still going to support extinction anyway. There's lots of other activists.
I don't want to feel cheated, James.
Well, I mean, look, the thing is that extinction is logical, right? So I don't think I would, suddenly be like, okay, yeah, I'm pro-life now. So if I did have a baby unexpectedly, I think I would still understand that the baby would be better off not existing.
All right. Well, I don't know how I feel about that answer, but yeah, you
Rock on.
I don't know. Yeah. All right.
All right, V, thank you for coming up. Keep rocking. And let's see, do we have anyone interesting looking in the chat? Okay, we've got David Crappen. I think he's a troll, if I remember correctly. So let's see. Will this be a troll? Do we need to pay him a toll? Okay, it's not loading. We're going to move on. Let's see who else we have. We've got a weirdo-looking person. Bringing them up. Still not loading.
Hello.
Hello, how you doing?
Yeah, hi. I just have like a couple of questions. Like, do you think that people with a lot of power, when this, whole ideology is going to be applied, like some people with a lot of power can manage to escape it, and then, like maybe probably extract like DNA from animals and do like the thing it was called like the extinction, like for example the dire wolf thing that happened 2 years ago when they brought it back.
Yeah, look,
Do you
I
think
think
that
that there's always going to be people resisting extinction. It's going to, in lots of different ways, right? So that's always going to happen in different ways, different people, different situations. But we have to be prepared for everything and anything.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. And also like another question, do you think that like this whole thing that you're doing will get you like in trouble?
Potentially, yeah. But amazingly, much to my chagrin and to my shock, the police have never contacted me, right? I mean, I've literally made, crazy videos, videos that I probably never should have made, saying crazy things about extinction. And I've had nothing, right? Not an email, not a phone call, not a visit at the door. I mean, I'm literally saying, yeah, we will round up every human. We will, hunt them down and make sure that they're all euthanized. And yeah, no one seems to care.
Okay, this is all I had. Thanks.
All right, cheers. So, I mean, I did look it up, right? When I started doing activism and making videos for extinction, I looked it up, right? Is this legal or is it technically illegal? And basically, the government website said technically it's allowed because it doesn't present an immediate or realistic danger. So, we're not talking about human extinction for probably a long time. So we're not, threatening anyone. There's no immediate threat. And it's also not a realistic threat either, right? Total extinction, a small group of people managing to wipe out the entire planet. So that specifically makes it legal, right? If it were a realistic or imminent threat or danger, then it would be illegal. So doing this activism, perfectly fine, right? And yeah, especially because we do strictly peaceful activism. We're against self-harm, we're against violence, we're against suicide. We're not calling for anything illegal. We're only calling for peaceful activism to grow the movement towards, ending all suffering. Like, how can you argue against that? Okay, next person coming up. Let's get some more debates going. Hello.
Hello. I'm sorry if my English is not very good.
Okay.
But I have a question. You recently said that like this whole children getting raped and stuff,
Yeah.
And how about instead of children getting raped, you get raped in prison by five big black guys?
I mean, that could be exciting. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all, man.
Yeah, I mean, I think if that happened to me, I would try and use the pain and the terror of it to boost my empathy towards those who get, you know, abused like that all the time. So yeah, we should use our pain for good.
Yeah, that's all, man.
And look, you know, it's a funny hypothetical, but it could actually happen, right? What if the police do arrest me, throw me in prison, and I get abused by 5 guys from abroad? It could happen. But the thing is that we accept that risk to do the right thing. So, you know, a lot of people would say, I will never do the right thing. I will never speak out against cruelty because I could go to prison, right? It threatens my comfort, my happiness. And so that's another problem. That's another big reason for why people don't do the right thing, why they will be selfish. It's because they're worried about themselves. And you know, that's kind of understandable, but at the same time, it's not good enough, right? If everyone only cares about themselves, then you know, who's going to care about those who can't help themselves, who need help? Nobody, right? So yeah, look, it's difficult to say, you know, child abuse is bad. We should have total extinction. Your happiness doesn't justify, you know, life forms being tortured, right? So people don't want to hear that. People don't want to hear, you know, you watching Netflix isn't worth animals being tortured, right? People don't want to hear that because it takes away from their privilege, their happiness, their comfort. And yeah, they just don't want to do anything, right, that will take away from their happiness to help others, right? I mean, most people don't even give to charity. Most people do nothing, right? Most people, what are they doing to help others? Sweet FA, basically. Nothing, right? Nothing. So if you do want to help others, what's the best way to do it? Well, you can, you know, help your neighbor cross the street, or you could help the whole world, right? Oh, what do you mean you could help the whole world? Well, you work towards a universal system for everyone. That's it, right? Help everyone. So extinction helps literally everyone, right? It benefits every single life form because it provides them with safety. And you could say, oh, but, you know, Elon Musk doesn't want to go extinct. Well, you know, he's in danger of regretting that decision, right? He's in infinite danger. Doesn't matter how much money he's got, Elon Musk could absolutely suffer so badly that he regrets being born, right? It's very possible. So extinction benefits the billionaires, it benefits the happy people, it benefits the sufferers, obviously, right? Let's move on. We've got Crockett. Oh, how do we pronounce that? Korkenhorter. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm Guten Tag. Danke.
How are you? How was your day?
Yeah, good, thank you. Do you have any questions about extinction?
Yeah, I have many questions. The first one is, are you sponsored from Benjamin Netanyahu?
No.
Okay, the second question, what do you think about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ? I mean, he died for us on the cross, and now you and your people want to kill everyone.
Do you think Jesus would support making child abuse impossible?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. I mean, he was like also homophobic and sexist, because why not?
So do you think Jesus would support extinction?
No.
But that would make child abuse impossible.
Okay, but there could be other things that could make this impossible.
So what's more important, making child abuse impossible or making happiness impossible, right? Which includes the child abusers who will be happy.
But I won't be happy if I'm dead.
Yeah, but okay, would you rather go to hell or just stop existing?
To hell.
Yeah, right, dude. So you think that should be the system for everyone? So everyone should go to hell instead of being safe?
No, but I think you should leave the people their choice.
So you think we should send people to hell with no escape and call it a choice?
But you want to kill people.
So
Then you
is
take
that
them
better
the
than
choice.
sending children to hell for billions of years?
You want to kill people?
No. It's not that we look. If you think killing is bad, then extinction minimizes suffering. Right? There'll be much more killing if we allow life. So
But everyone can.
if killing is if you so actually you support killing more than we do.
Okay, but everyone has the choice to end their own lives.
Who?
But
So
you want to
do
take
babies
them
have
their choice.
do babies have that choice?
No, yes, they can go to a wall and bump their head on the wall and then they die.
So newborn babies, how often do they do that?
Never, because they do not want to die.
So, so you think that a newborn baby understands the concept of suicide?
Yes, could be.
So do you think that like they learn about it in the womb, like they're reading a book about suicide when they're still in the womb? Like, hang on, let me just do the fetal position. So they're in the womb like this, right? And they're reading a book about suicide before they get born. Is that how it works?
Could be.
Right. So you're completely insane, basically. So yeah, look, this is what we're talking about when we say that people are dishonest. They use deceit. Right? You know, essentially he had no argument. He realized that his position had completely collapsed. And so, you know, to defend his position with nothing, right? So earlier I was saying, like, look, they've got nothing, right? They have no argument. So when they're completely out of logic, completely out of counter arguments, that's when you start to you basically make them go crazy, right? Think about it, right? If they've got 3 arguments in the tank that sound slightly reasonable. And as I've explained before, that's the only thing, right? So when you're trying to convince people of extinction and explain it, they're going to have loads of these counter arguments, right? Which are irrational, like insane, completely illogical things, right? But they have them in the tank. So usually people will start the debate with, you know, 1 or 2 points that sound partially reasonable. And basically, they will start with the best sounding doubt. This is how it works. I'm explaining the exact process. So they will start with the best sounding doubt, like, and that could be different for everyone. So it'd be like, oh, total extinction, but you know, that's going to cause loads of suffering, though, won't it? So that's, even though that doesn't actually make sense, right? It's just they're just looking for any doubt possible, right? And it's not that they have that doubt, it's that they're looking for a doubt which sounds reasonable, right? So it's like, oh, I need a counter argument for this. I don't have one, but maybe I can just make one up and make it sound not too stupid, right? So, oh, but total extinction would cause more suffering, wouldn't it? Well, you know, if you'd thought it through for more than a second, you'd realize that that's really stupid, basically. So they haven't thought it through. It's just the first doubt that they can think of, right? It's not an actual belief or position they've really got. It's just like a doubt. And so they will just look for the most reasonable sounding one. But once they're out, once they've run out of those doubts, like their excuses, basically, that's when they have nothing left, right? Nothing left. And so you're saying, like, go on then, be logical. And they're like, yeah, babies literally read books about suicide in the womb, and they know how to commit suicide from day one, right? So essentially, instead of saying, okay, you're right, they will say, yeah, babies read books about suicide in the womb. So they would rather sound completely insane rather than accepting what is obviously true, right? And so that just proves the extent to which humanity has evolved to be irrational, to be illogical, right? So much so that the brain will make them say completely insane things as a defense mechanism to prevent further rationalization, essentially. So that's why they say insane things. It's they're not actually trying to engage. They're just trying to look for an excuse to put it off. Like, oh, get it away from me. Get it away from me. That sounds unethical. That's going to cause more suffering. No, I don't want to hear about it. So they don't want to think about it. They don't want to engage on it. They're just looking for excuses to bat it away, basically. Oh, morality, pff, why should I care, basically, right? Okay, moving on. We've got Apple user in the queue. They've been wanting to come up for a while. And anyone else that's desperate to come up, let us know in the chat. Hello, how you doing? You've been asking to come up. Hello? Okay, moving on. We've got Nemu. Bringing up Nemu onto the stage now. Hello. Okay, no. Nemu, we're trying to load you in, but it's not loading. Hello. We got you. Hi.
Hello.
Yeah, how you doing?
Good, thank you. Sorry, English is my second language.
Okay.
First, I want to ask you a question. So, we all know you think that the best thing for not just our society, but for the planet is total extinction.
For the universe, yeah.
Okay, yes. The most obvious question to me is if you just stop existing, for you, nothing else would exist and you would solve the problem.
But nothing. When you say nothing else would exist, that's not true, right? We would be leaving behind the victims. We would be abandoning them, right? We would be abandoning those who can't help themselves.
Yes, but that's the case for you.
Well, that's not what I'm doing, though. That's not what I'm doing. I'm helping others. I'm helping those who can't help themselves.
I see you didn't did that. You're still alive, and for me that's a good thing. But dog only sees black and white, so for him there is no green. So if you do that, for you there wouldn't be anything. And the second question is, so that's why you think there still is
So the solution to the suffering in the world is just kill yourself and forget about it.
No. My second question then is, you think living is bad, but you have a reason to live. Am I right?
Yeah, helping others.
Yes. So I think that the most obvious thing to me is that if you are so unoptimistic about life and you have a reason to live, I think that's enough to say that life is worth living, for me.
Okay.
I really respect what you do. I see that you are not doing it for any kind of exchange, not for money, but that are just my thoughts about it.
Okay. What's your closing statement?
My closing statement is that by your two answers, I just wanted to obligate that there is a reason to live, because that what you are doing is a good deed, and you find it the reason to live.
Yeah, but being alive is a bad thing, right? It's not that I've found a reason to live. It's that I'm accepting the unfortunate situation of being alive because others have it even worse than I do. So it's not like, oh, I found a reason to live, yay! No, it's like, oh my God, they're being tortured. I'm going to be tortured as well, but I'm screw it. I'm going to help them first anyway.
Yes, I agree with you 100%. But if you, by your good deeds, have a reason to live, I think that's the case why almost anyone has a reason to live.
But not a valid reason, though, right? So helping others is a valid reason.
Yes, but everyone in some case want to live to.
Yeah, but for invalid reasons.
But that is subjective, isn't it?
But again, if you believe in subjectivity, then essentially you support child abuse and animal abuse.
I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Yeah, if you support subjectivity, then you support child abuse, right? Because then, by that logic, you can't prove child abuse is wrong.
I don't want to sound in any bad matter or like a crazy guy, but I think for the society.
So we can't. You don't think we can prove child abuse is wrong, do you? So you're one of these philosophy people that it's rotted your brain to the point where you can't even say that child abuse is bad because you now rely on such insane, impossible standards for everything that it's essentially turned you insane.
No.
That's what philosophy does. That's what philosophy does to you. It says, don't think normally, let's use insane, hyper-abstract, logical rules that make everything impossible and make no sense. Right?
No.
So if you're saying everything is subjective, you can't prove child abuse is bad, therefore we shouldn't ban it.
No. You didn't hear me quite right. I think it is really bad because of the things that the child has to live for the rest of life.
But it's subjective, though, right? Some of the children might enjoy it, right? It's subjective. You think?
It is. Some might, but I think the majority of them don't, and that is bad for society because you had one crazy person, and now you probably have two because of the trauma. And I think for the society and for the humankind, it is really bad. But in terms of
so you care more about society than the child actually suffering.
It is.
That's the problem. That's the problem with only caring about the group itself, right? Because then infinite suffering is now permissible, right? As long as the existence of the species is all that matters, then there is no amount of child abuse or cruelty that will ever change that for people like you. Whereas, even one child being abused is too many. I would say, that's unacceptable. But unfortunately, for people like you, it's only when you're forced to care that you pretend to care. So, like, if there's a majority over 51%, then you might say, okay, well, I guess now I have to pretend to care, right?
No, I really care, and I think it's really bad. But one thing that every human has to consider, I think, that way is that
it's bad, but right. I'm against child abuse, but
yes, but
exactly.
Yeah, it is bad because like Darwin said,
I'm not racist, but
survival of the fittest, and that's one of the things that.
So when a really hench pedophile is raping a child because he's fitter than them, right? And he survives and they die, they didn't survive, right? But he does. Is that a good thing? Should we glorify survival of?
No. I think you don't understand me. And
survival of the fittest is for monsters, right? Only a monster would glorify survival of the fittest and say, fuck the victims, fuck the weak, who cares about them?
No, you just put words I didn't said. I don't mean that. I think that's the biggest problem that
you're glorifying survival of the fittest, which
no,
I
don't glorify. I don't glorify anything. I think it's horrible thing to even talk about and to experience even worse. And there is but. There is always
child
but.
Abuse is bad, but we should.
There is always but because every action has a cause. There is always but.
Yeah. So child abuse is bad, but we should allow it.
No, we shouldn't. Why should we?
So how are you going to ban it? How are you going to make it impossible?
First of all, we can't ban anything at 100%, but we can do everything we can to minimize it.
You can with extinction, though, right? So we should work towards a zero tolerance policy on suffering, right? A world with zero suffering. People like yourself, because you don't care about suffering. The idea of
as much as we can, but it's inevitable that suffering will exist in life. It's inevitable.
Why?
Because
That's just an
that's
excuse. That's like something a slave owner would say, right? End slavery. Suffering is inevitable, right? You can't get rid of all slavery. Why?
no, no, no. You again put some words I didn't say.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, exactly.
you no
I'm saying
you
what you're not saying, right? I'm
n-
filling in the blanks that you're leaving
no,
out.
because my
I'm
last
explaining your
no,
terrible opinions.
you don't, because my last sentence was we should minimalize
Yeah,
suffering as much as we
again, yeah,
can.
but reducing suffering is unethical, right? It's like saying we should reduce slavery, but not end it. Don't end the slavery, no matter what. We can never end slavery. There must always be slavery, but we can reduce it a little bit, right? So that imagine a slave owner saying that, right? You would say, shut the fuck up and get out of here, right? So that's the same thing with you saying we shouldn't make child abuse impossible. We shouldn't end it. We should still allow it to happen.
No,
Right?
we
No.
shouldn't. We shouldn't.
We shouldn't allow slavery. We shouldn't allow child abuse. And you're saying, no, there's reasons why we need it, right? Our pleasure is more important than banning child abuse, right?
No, I would, if I'm in that position, I would 100% ban
But it's
all things like
okay.
that.
Okay, when we're saying ban, right? I'm talking about like making it impossible, right? Which
That's
is not your
impossible.
priority. It's not your priority. So your
It's im-
priority is for
but
life to exist.
it's impossible to make it 100% impossible.
Let me ask you this: Is there an extent of how bad conditions can be for life before you would support it not suffering terribly in those conditions?
Uh,
No. So basically, there's no amount of suffering that would get you to say, okay, life shouldn't be forced into this. This is ridiculously cruel. There's nothing that will ever get you to say that, right?
no,
Exactly.
because
Exactly. So literally, a child gets born into a pedophile's basement. Collateral damage, right? You see, that's the problem with not having a zero tolerance policy on suffering. You're accepting all of the suffering, unlimited suffering. You're giving pedophiles a blank check with a child and saying, do whatever the fuck you want. You are, though. You are literally supporting all of the child abuse in the world, all of the animal abuse, all of the cruelty, right? All of it. And saying, I don't care how bad it gets, right? I don't care how many children get abused, how badly they get abused. We will never prevent that from happening.
yeah, if I
That's
heard
not
you,
okay. That's
if I
not
heard, if I heard you right, you are telling me that in this situation I'm a hypocrite.
No, I'm saying that you're unethical, right? Because you're literally supporting, you're prioritizing pleasure over safety, right? That's what a criminal does. That's what a child abuser does. It's literally the exact same thing, right? It's what a predator does, essentially. It's to say, yeah, I have to exist, and it doesn't matter if loads of people are being tortured so that I can exist. I don't care. No amount of torture will ever make me care. There's no amount of misery that my existence causes which will ever make me care. That's essentially what you're saying. And so the problem with your mentality and 99% of humanity's mentality is that it is 100% of the time ignore the suffering. Just don't give a flying fuck about it ever, right? Just only focus on yourself, only live for yourself, and just never ever agree to help the world, never ever agree to work towards ending suffering, only care about yourself and just fuck everything else. That's essentially your mentality, right? It's one of egoism, right? So I debated an egoist a few months ago, and yeah, it was the same thing. He was like, yeah, we should only care about ourselves. If someone needs help and they're suffering terribly, fuck them. Just let them suffer. We should only care about ourselves. Which, I feel like you're being silent here because, it's kind of cutting deep, right, what I'm saying. You're like, oh shit, this is how I feel.
I
Okay,
don't.
you're done. You're finished. You're out of here. He's been cooked and served like a turkey. All right, moving on. Let's see if we've got anybody else. Bum, bum, bum. Let's see. Do we have more time for more debates? Can I come on next? Says Tango. I don't know, mate. It was pretty bad last time. Okay, let's see. We've got time for one more debate, okay? And then I'm going to call it for the day. But as always, anybody that wants to continue the discussion can join us on Discord. The link is on my profile. Hello, how you doing?
Hey,
Hi, do you have
can
any
you hear my
questions?
voice?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yeah, I have this. Yeah, I have this question for you. Do you think people sorry, one second. Hey, can you hear my voice?
Yep.
So I have this question for you, right? So do you think you're more serious about this movement because it kind of give you the sense of purpose in life? Maybe you're too serious about ending suffering because it kind of fulfill the psychological need for meaning and purpose in life, maybe?
I mean, that's not the main reason I'm doing it. No, it's about empathy, compassion, caring about others.
Okay, but how can you
So
okay,
if someone
fine, I'll
said to
ask
you,
you.
if someone said to you, just round the corner there is a child that's bleeding and screaming for help, right? You would hopefully go and investigate, right? So in the same way that
Right.
when people are faced with these things, they care. We care anyway, right? We don't need to see it. We care regardless. So we care about everyone and doing the best thing for the world. Whereas most people only care if they have to, right? If it's in front of them.
Yeah. But the question is, you said maybe people actually understand as logical way. They say like, yeah, it's right, but they don't care actually ending the suffering, right?
Yeah.
So like the fact that you're trying to end everyone's suffering, I mean,
What? Yeah, it's going to be difficult. It's a big job, but we have to do it.
okay then.
Okay. Do you have any more questions? No? Okay, I guess not. Okay. Let's see. Let's see. Do we have time for more? Hello, how you doing?
Hello,
Hello.
James. Thank you for having me. So, I've been watching you for some time, and I just wanted to tell you about a situation I've just gone through and why I am kind of circling around your ideas. So, my mom just passed Mother's Day, and what she was going through, she was experiencing a lot of suffering. And so the doctors gathered me and my siblings and asked, well, do they want us to, do we want them to remove the feeding tube? And essentially, she was incapable of eating on her own. And so this will cause her to eventually pass, right? And it was a very hard struggle, but eventually we decided unanimously to yes, remove the feeding tube and allow her and end the suffering and allow her to pass. And so that was just very difficult. But now that I think about it, after that situation, suffering is worldwide and is very, I think no one should suffer. But I had a question for you after saying that. If it was possible tomorrow, if someone came up with some kind of way to completely extinct everything tomorrow, would you agree to it?
Well, we support the most vast and thorough extinction possible, which has to be scientifically determined and then carried out. Which means that, for all we know, science could permit us to do the entire universe and to prevent life ever coming back. Or it could just be Earth, right? But we still need to do the best scientific prevention of life evolving and coming back, at least for Earth and hopefully for the rest of the universe as well. So it depends on that, right? If it's like a limited extinction, then we would hold out for a better extinction, essentially.
All right, but hypothetically, let's say tomorrow the technology came forward. Okay, boom, someone discover how to end the sun, right? Destroy the sun. Would that be it? Would we go through with it tomorrow?
Well, again, universe-wide extinction is the priority. So we wouldn't destroy Earth and our only ability to help the universe. So we should investigate the most vast and thorough extinction possible as top priority.
Okay. Well, that's all I wanted to
All right.
ask. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, it's not good enough to simply remove life. You have to prevent life from ever coming back. You know, so I mean, look, if we're gonna survive for 100 or 1,000 years and do extinction, right? It doesn't make sense to rush it or to do a bad job, right? We have billions of years of suffering to prevent, so we should make sure we do it properly, right? Not leave it to chance and let the suffering continue on. So the only right thing to do is to work towards the most vast and thorough extinction scientifically possible. And that has to be determined. So we don't know what it is, we don't know what it looks like, we don't know how fast we can do extinction or how thorough. Only pushing science and technology to their limits will allow us to understand what is possible, what is the best extinction we can do, what is the most prevention of life suffering that we can do. So yeah, you know, we don't want to rush extinction. That is the last thing we will ever do. We will never rush extinction unless like we're really, really forced to somehow. But even then, yeah, we will always prioritize the best extinction possible and determining it with science instead of rushing it. So to that end, you know, we would continue human suffering for, you know, indefinitely, essentially, so that we can work towards a better extinction. And look, you might be preventing trillions of years of suffering. So yeah, you've got to do the job as best as you can. And yeah, you know, with trillions of years of suffering to prevent, it makes sense to suffer for thousands of more years or however long it takes in order to do a proper job, right? You've got billions, trillions of years of suffering on the line. Do a proper job. Do the best extinction. Don't rush it. Okay, yeah, I'm going to get going now. So thank you for joining us, everyone. If you want to continue the debate, continue the discussion, join our Discord, talk to me and the other activists. You can come and talk to Steve, the person who made the movement 4 years ago. You know, I only joined 1 year ago. You can come and talk to all of our 100 activists, essentially. You can see, you know, learn more about the movement, debate with us, ask questions, start doing activism, right? The whole point of me doing this is to grow the movement. So we want people like yourself to become an activist, start growing the pro-extinction movement until we have enough people to make extinction possible. So make videos, explain that suffering is not acceptable, that the only solution is total extinction, and that we have to grow the movement to make it happen. And to join the movement through proextinction.com. So you can actually put the link to the website, proextinction.com, in your bio, in your profile on TikTok. And when you're making videos, you can say, click on my profile, and you can, you know, find the link to the website there. So that's a good way to do it. And yeah, it's all about growing the movement, right? It's about the action, it's about the solution. And the only way to solve suffering is to get people together who are going to agree to work on it and to try and solve the problem together. So, you know, supporting the movement is great, but we need activists who are actually going to help grow the movement properly, right? To make videos. And look, you can make one video a day, right? It could take 20 seconds. You can literally open your phone and say, support pro-extinction, support the end of all suffering with extinction, proextinction.com. Right? It takes 10 seconds. Everyone could do that, and it would make a big difference. It would help a lot, right? So, you know, literally just open up TikTok, just make a video, support total extinction, join us at proextinction.com. That's one sentence, right? 5 seconds. You can make a video doing that. And that is the best way to grow the movement effectively. Start your activism, start taking action, lift a finger, make a video, start growing the movement. And yeah, join us on WhatsApp and Discord. The links are on my profile, and we'll see you all tomorrow.